the snap. He's looking to throw to the left. There's two receivers there. He pulls it down. Now hasn't been sacked, trying to get away. Out to his left side, finds Jack Bech. Tiptoes the sideline and makes the catch. Oh, that is a huge play. Jack Bech on his second career catch just bailed out his quarterback for a first down. Escapes out to his left side, being chased. A man in his face at the 25. Cuts towards the middle of the field. And now he's spun down and a sack. Tonka Hemingway with his second sack of the day.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
And here we go, Raider Nation. We come into the sounds of a first down by Jack Bech. Seems like anytime he makes a catch, he's picking up a first down. That was against Washington early in the season in 2025, his rookie year. And then Tonka Hemingway with a sack against Kansas City, and that was the last week of the season. So early production by Jack Bech, late production from Tonka Hemingway. That's the sound that we come into here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Unnecessary Roughness on this Monday. Got my man Ari in the Lotus Broadcasting Studios, holding it down on the wheels of steel as he always does. I'm here live in Studio Q as I always am. So a big show lined up for you today. Very excited about the opportunity to be with you as we always are. 3 hours long, 3 hours strong. Leading us off as he always does on Monday, Kirk Morrison, Raiders broadcast, Tackle for Loss TV, and former Raider linebacker, longtime NFL linebacker. He always makes us a whole lot smarter whenever he joins the show. So definitely an interview that we look forward to each and every week. So Kirk Morrison will join us coming up at 2:30. At 3 o'clock, we'll talk to our guy Tyler Dragon from USA Today Sports as he's getting ready for training camp to open up across the league. There's already a couple teams that have their rookies reporting. The Raiders rookies will report later on this week, and then the veterans will report on the 28th, and everything will really get going on the 29th, and we'll be out there each and every day at the Intermountain Health Performance Center, making sure we're covering practice, talking to players, talking to coaches post-practice, and just getting ready for the upcoming season that'll be here sooner than you think, right? As soon as you think that, I got a little bit more time, you look up and say, no, I don't have a lot more time. Matter of fact, the first week of the season is coming up on Sunday. So that's just how it's gonna play out. This whole summer has gone by really fast. Obviously, the Raiders have been very active with everything they've done from free agency to the draft, having the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of conversation behind that. But as much as we talk about an offseason, there really hasn't been much of an offseason. There really hasn't been much of a downtime, right? We always talk about, especially from our position, what are we going to talk about in the dog days of summer is what they like to call it, when really baseball is the only activity. But, man, there's been a lot. And the Raiders have been in the conversation. Like I said, there might have been a quick little lull for a week or so. I think that's when most of us went on vacation. But outside of that, there really has. It's been very busy, very active. A lot of conversations surrounding the Raiders, and that's what's going to happen as well when you have the number 1 overall pick. When you have a change in coaching staff, especially with a coaching staff that a lot of people seem to believe in, and Clint Kubiak, who obviously has had a lot of success as an offensive coordinator, and the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl last year. So there's going to be a lot of conversation, not just here locally, not just here on RaiderNation Radio 920, but also nationally. And then when you have guys like Max Crosby and you have guys like Brock Bowers, who got another recognition today from the NFL, when you have guys like Ashton Genty, and when you have big expectations, right, that's going to keep you in the conversation as well. So there, again, I look at it and see that, this could be the slower time of year you can consider it, but it's really going full throttle, and it's going to really ramp up once training camp opens up, and each and every day there's an update on what's going on with the team, and just a report back from practice, and plenty of conversations. So definitely looking forward to that. But Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, will join us coming up at 3 o'clock, talk all things NFL. Then at 4, we'll continue on with our strength, our weakness, and X factors, when we talk about teams that the Raiders don't play, teams that are outside of the division but are on the schedule this year, and we're up to the New York Jets. So Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, he'll join us coming up at 4 o'clock and talk about the Jets. And the Jets, to me, are in a weird position. I feel like they're not going to be very good this year, and they're going to earn a top spot in the draft, like a top 1, 2, or 3, which will get them their quarterback of the future, which, of course, if you're a Jets fan, you're like, yeah, that's what we want. But I don't think that their head coach is going to be able to coach that guy, right? So I feel like that they're in a tough position. The coach, Aaron Glenn, is going to want to win games because he's not going to want to lose his job. But if they win too many games, maybe they're not in position to get that quarterback that they're looking for, even though we've been told that this is a very rich draft when it comes to quarterbacks. That's something that obviously the Jets need, just like the Raiders needed a quarterback desperately. The Jets do as well. So that's the kind of position that they're in. If they lose a lot of games and they're in position to get that quarterback, that's great for them. That's what they need. But is their head coach going to suffer and lose his job because of it? That's a big question. We'll ask Dan that and amongst other questions coming up at 4 o'clock. But they're one of those teams to look at, and there's a handful of teams, and I'm glad the Raiders aren't one of them, that need a quarterback. You could look at the Browns. They're a team that needs a quarterback, even though they have a whole stable full of quarterbacks there in Cleveland right now. None of them are the guy. Right, the Jets obviously need a quarterback. You know, there's other teams that you can look at around the league and wonder, okay, what's going to go on? And again, that draft next year is supposed to, and I say in air quotes, be very rich in quarterback talent. But I've heard that multiple years, and it hasn't quite come to fruition outside of 2024. So those are the guests that we have lined up on the show today. Kirk Morrison at 2:30, Tyler Dragon joins us at 3, and Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential, at 4 o'clock. We'll also hear from you in the meantime, in between time at 702-365-9200. We have another performance that we have to flush, and, of course, we'll do football right. But we also have to get you in to win the Summer of Fun, another week, another adventure that we're sending you on. Southern California theme park trip is what we're doing. You can take the trip or you can take the cash. The cash is $3,000. Thanks to Terribles. We definitely appreciate them. Ari, let me know, if you are prepared for it, what the word of the day is.
Anthem. A-N-T-H-E-M. Anthem.
Man, not only did he say he's prepared for it, he's prepared to give you the spelling of it, too.
That's right. Well, fun note here because my partner over here, Connor, mentioned, yeah, I'm pretty sure I said it right, Anthem, but we got a handsome on the text line.
I saw that.
So
I saw that. That
like,
was
hey,
funny.
Connor.
That's funny. Hey, you know, sometimes. But it's funny. I almost guarantee, without knowing, that whoever texted in handsome probably did it with voice text.
100%.
Because sometimes I'll say something, and all of a sudden, when it repeats it to me, I was like, that's nothing close to what I just said. So then I just say, all right, well, let's just try this again. And it gets to the point sometimes where I literally have to spell it out for it to get it correct. And then it'll say it. It'll say it like, I mean, if I say like Ari, and then all of a sudden it'll say something else, I don't know, just anything, then it's like, okay, hold on, let me spell it real quick. Then it's like, oh, texting Ari. It's like, that's just what I said.
Man.
Yeah, so there's random things. But the funny thing is, you can get caught up in a weird text if you don't catch it and you send it. Then all of a sudden you realize, like, whoa, that's a really weird text. I don't quite know exactly what I said, you know, or that wasn't what I meant to say. And then you have to go back and try to explain that as well. So
I have a couple
you're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't.
Some fun screenshots from conversations with various friends over the years.
Right. It's like, wait, what were you trying to say here? Right. It's like, I have no idea.
And they're like, oh, my God, that's not what I meant.
Right, exactly. So it is what it is. But, all right, the word is anthem. Make sure you get that in. You have till 5 o'clock, A-N-T-H-E-M, as Ari told you. That'll get you in to win the Southern California theme park trip. You can take the trip or you can take the cash. It's a great way to close out the summer. The cash is $3,000. The Summer of Fun brought to you by Terribles, Lotus Broadcasting, company-wide competition. And we've got still a couple more big trips coming up, the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, and my favorite place on earth, Hawaii. So, there's a lot of trips that we have in store, but we need some winning coming from this show and this station, RaiderNation Radio 920. So there you go. We did the housekeeping there that we had to do. We had to make sure it was all said and done. Now, before we get into the opening drive, we got to hear from our guy, E-Rob. The weekend was important, of course. It's always important. Tomorrow's going to be important. The rest of the week is going to be important. But today's important as well.
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out. Because you know I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. Right now, let's jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Padalaw. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
I'm just laughing because I saw Sir Whiskey Ray's text. And, again, one of those, what the hell were you trying to say here? This one don't say anthem. This one don't say handsome. This one says horsey. Horsey? H-O-R-S-Y. Sir Whiskey Ray, what the hell does that mean? Is he trying to ride a horsey and now he is spelling it correctly? Like, what are we doing here?
Right. I'm curious because he always got some fun things, you know, some weird, so I feel like there's something behind this, but then, yeah.
There can't be something behind a word that's spelled incorrectly.
Never know Sir Whiskey Ray, but yeah.
I know. Sir Whiskey Ray is creative. Right. He's about as creative as it comes.
Yeah.
But that one, horsey, H-O-R-S-Y.
As in,
What?
why did you type that?
Right, exactly. Why did that? Was that the text that you sent in? That is funny.
We'll
So,
follow up on it. We'll circle back to that when we
I'm
get an
sure.
answer.
I'm sure about that. Also, just when Will hit us up, he said, the only anthem I know is that E-Rob drop. LOL. Have a great show, fellas. So there you go. Just when Will is in his bag as well on the text line. Definitely appreciate all the feedback already. But let's go ahead and jump into it. You know, we talk a lot about with the training camp right around the corner. We start talking about camp battles and who's going to make the squad, who's not going to make the squad. And I've said it multiple times. And we'll talk to Kirk Morrison coming up in about 20 minutes or so about the roster. There's already a good idea of who's going to be on the 53-man roster. Like, it's not some 53 guys are going to battle it out for their roster spot. Like, a lot of it, for the most part, is pretty much written in red ink. Right, they know who's going to be there. There's a couple spots that are up for grabs or a couple spots that could mean you're on the first team or the second team. But for the most part, Clint Kubiak, Robbie Leonard, everyone pretty much knows who their guys are going to be, right, based off film, based off what they've already seen in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, based off their expectations and what they need them to do. What we see at OTAs and mandatory minicamp is what they allow us to see, what they want us to see. It's not the whole puzzle. It's not everything. So there's a couple guys that will make some noise that will come back and say, man, I didn't see this guy coming. All of a sudden, this guy, he's making some noise. Look out. He's going to be challenging for a roster spot. And maybe he will. But it's not that often that we see some big, I like to call them upsets, right, where a guy that you went into training camp thinking that, hey, man, this guy is locked in at this certain position, and all of a sudden you come back, it's like, man, that guy didn't make the 53-man roster. He didn't show up that second week of training camp. He wasn't very good. It doesn't happen like that too often. Now, that doesn't mean you could just go into training camp and coast. You got to go put the work in. But for the most part, these guys are penciled in where they're penciled in because they have put in the work and they're going to put in the work. But with that being said, when you just take a overall look at the roster and the guys that you believe will be there and contributing this season, in the regular season, in 2026, starting week 1 versus Miami, who would you like to see take on a bigger role? Right? That's the question I think is even more important. Who would you like to see have a bigger role and why? And I'm really looking for one on offense and one on defense. And if you're putting 2 and 2 together, and if you're tying the strings together, you're standing up at the whiteboard, and you're connecting the dots, and you go back to the beginning of the show and you heard a Jack Bech first down and a Tonka Hemingway sack, those are my 2 answers. And Ari does a fantastic job tying everything in together all the time. Like, there's nothing Ari does that's unintentional. I can promise you that, unless he's messing up. If he's messing up, that wasn't on purpose.
Yes, good catch
those,
there.
Those kind of things happen. But for the most part, everything Ari does is intentional. So when you hear Jack Bech getting that first down, which just about everything he did his rookie year was a first down, and then you hear a Tonka Hemingway sack, that's where my answer is. And the reason those are my answers is Jack Bech, first of all, second-round pick. He's a guy that was, in my opinion, drafted to be the eventual replacement of Jacoby Myers. We saw Jacoby Myers get traded to Jacksonville. Good for Jacksonville. They got a really good player. He's doing some good things there. They're very happy with him. So the Raiders made their trade to make their replacement. So that's Jack Bech. And for some reason, he just didn't get too much burn his rookie year, as we know. I don't have to go over the lack of being on the grass. But I feel like he can do that. He could play that role. He could extend drives. He can keep the offense on the field. And he's physical and he's tough. Myself and Vinny Bonsignore talked about, we did a little bit of a mandatory minicamp recap right after camp was over. Me and him stood in front of the torch there at the practice facility and talked about guys who stood out and didn't stand out. And Jack Bech was one of those guys that didn't stand out during mandatory minicamp. He was one of those guys that I never looked down and was like, oh, man, there's Jack Bech making another play. But that's not really his bag. That's not really where he's going to, butter his bread. Now, in training camp, once the pads come on and he has a chance to be physical, that's where he gets a chance to really show who he could be. Once the preseason games hit, that's what he could show he could do. The one thing I like about Jack Bech is the fact that he's a willing blocker. Like he told me and Vinny in the locker room, if you don't block, you don't get the rock. Right? That's a motto that he's been living by. You don't block, you don't get the rock. So he's willing to do that. In a Clint Kubiak offense, you have to be a willing blocker. Everyone wants to get the ball. Everyone wants to get the touchdowns and the first downs, and, that's all cool. But you've got to do the dirty work. You've got to get in the trenches. And that's what I liked about Jacoby Myers as well. No matter what you asked him to do, he did it. Whether that was catch a ball on 3rd and 8, extend a drive, or if it was making sure he got his nose in there and threw a block to spring the running back for a couple extra yards. Whatever the case may be, he was willing to do. And I think Jack Bech has the same ability and same opportunity to do that. He's just got to show it. Not to mention, we know the story of his brother Tiger, but I'll tell you what, man, you want to talk about a dude who, and this is where I don't want to say my judgment is going to get clouded, but, I just talked to the dude in the locker room, and his want to be really good is there. There's no question about that. His want to and his desire is there. His attention to detail is there. When you talk about guys that stay after practice and stay on the jugs machine a little bit longer, that's him. So it's easy for me to root for a guy like that. I root for the guys that I know are putting everything that they have into it, not guys that are just showing up and doing the bare minimum, clocking in when you have to and clocking out when you have to, right? The guys that are going to get there a little early and stay a little bit late. Those are team Qs, right? If I was putting together an all Q team, those are the guys that would be on my team. Of course, you want to have the superstars always, but you also want the guys that you know are going to go that extra mile and give you everything that they got. That's Jack Besh. So to me, that's one of the reasons why I root for him. But also being a second-round pick, the opportunity for him to show what he can be and really contribute to this team is there. There's no question who the number one target is. That's easy. That's Brock Bowers. Right, and Trey Tucker is going to have an opportunity to expand and build off what he did last year. Speedy Naylor will have something to say about that as well. But there's no doubt in my mind that Jack Besh is a guy that could be that dude and help out and contribute. And like I said, at the very end of the day, extend drives, especially in this offense. I think he's a guy that definitely will help Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza, whoever the quarterback is, extend drives. The other guy that I would like to see contribute more is a guy who contributed quite a bit down the stretch. That was Tonka Hemingway. I like what he is able to do, what he's shown that he could do, 4 sacks in a handful of games towards the end of the season. I think that he can slow down the run. I think he could be that dude, part of that rotation in the middle of that defensive line. And the only question is he going to build off that? Because they didn't go out there and make some big splash on the defensive line last year. So they're trusting that the interior of their defensive line, they'll be able to keep that rotation, stay fresh, and go out there and make some plays. So I think that Tonka has a good chance. J.J. Pegues, obviously, that was his rookie partner with him. Their lockers were right next to each other in the locker room, and you saw them continue to grow. And their locker was also right next to Max, and you would see Max kind of chopping it up with them as well, giving them a couple of the tips of the trade as far as that defensive line work. So I think that Tonka Hemingway is a guy that you could look at and say, he's got an opportunity to grow as well, and especially since the Raiders didn't go out and make a splash on that defensive line and interior like a lot of people, including myself, thought that they were going to. Right? I mean, I pounded the table all the way up to the draft for Caden McDonald in the second round. It didn't happen, which is fine. All he did is go to the Texans and make that nasty defensive line even nastier. Right? I mean, you want to talk about a rotation. Right, you're down if you do, you're down if you don't, man. You have some of those dudes along that defensive line in Houston. You let them come out, and all of a sudden you got this rookie in Caden McDonald that's fresh and coming in. Man, they really built that, as far as I'm concerned, that Texans defensive line like Philadelphia had at one point. Philadelphia had just rotation after rotation after rotation of dudes along that defensive line. And that, to me, was when they were at their best. Their defense was at their best because there was always somebody fresh. Howie Roseman, he did a job with making sure that he built those trenches in a major way. Matter of fact, offensive line and defensive line, those trenches were something special. And we'll learn a lot about the Raiders and this team defensively and offensively when they go to Houston and take on the Texans in those joint practices and obviously August 20th, the second preseason game of the year as well. So we want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer? One on offense and one on defense. And it's funny when you use the word breakout, there are so many articles right now. There's so many pieces out, whether it's on NFL.com, whether it's on PFF, where it's on ESPN, breakout player here, breakout player there. I can't tell you how many different people we've talked to throughout the course of the summer that have their own rankings and their own pieces of breakout players, like this one that Greg Allman, Fox Sports. I don't know how long ago this was, Ari, if you remember, but 2026 NFL breakout candidates. 10 second-year players poised to make a leap by Greg Allman. Yeah, Jack Besh was listed at number 8, right? Then you see an article like today drop with Bucky Brooks on NFL.com. Who did Bucky Brooks have? Ashton Genty, right? PFF. Ari sent me the article earlier. Who did they have as their breakout player? Ashton Genty. So, you know what I mean? It's like there's so many different articles and so many different opinions on who's going to be that breakout player, who's going to have the opportunity to really shine with the new surroundings, new coaching. And more times than not, on a lot of these lists or on these rankings, you'll see Ashton Jeanty. His name is everywhere when it comes to these different kind of lists. And then, like I said, Jack Bech, and that was, Greg Allman. All right, we talked to him. I want to say we talked to him months ago.
Yeah, I was going to say we had him on for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's July right now. I want to say we talked to him
March,
in
April something, or
was it right after the draft?
I was going to say right
before
after the draft, probably. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
it was quite a while ago, but yeah, that was someone that he identified off top, and at some point, as it always does, it will reveal itself, right? It will reveal itself who's going to be that player. But just going back to what Allman said about Jack Bech. After a quiet rookie season, Bech emerged as rookie Fernando Mendoza's favorite receiver, or could Bech emerge as rookie Fernando Mendoza's favorite receiver? Brock Bowers might be the offense's prime target, but Bech, who had 20 catches for 224 yards, no touchdowns, could easily outpace Trey Tucker and newcomer Jalen Naylor as the Raiders' best downfield threat. Broke out as a senior at TCU in 2024 with just over 1,000 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns, and has a good chance as any to benefit from the number 1 overall pick throwing the ball in Las Vegas. So that was again, Greg Allman, Fox Sports, been covering the league for a long time, does a great job covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the NFC South. So we've had him on for many different conversations, including John Spytek, as John Spytek came over from Tampa Bay. So Greg is a good friend of the show, but I don't know if he's going to emerge as Fernando Mendoza's number 1 target. I don't know if he's going to emerge as Kirk Cousins' number 1 target outside of Brock Bowers, because we know that Bowers is going to be that guy for anybody. If I was playing quarterback, Bowers would be the guy I'd try to throw the ball to. Now, I wouldn't get it there. it would be going the other way.
He'll still catch it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, man. Look, his rookie year, he caught passes from everybody. I mean,
seriously.
Just think about how great his rookie year was, and think about the cast of characters, the guys that he caught passes from. Everyone except for Aiden O'Connell is not even on the roster anymore. Right? I mean, he caught passes from everybody. Right? Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder. I mean, who else threw him passes? Right? I mean, it's like – no, well, Pickett was year 2, 2025. But still, to your point, I mean, he's never had consistent quarterback play.
Nope. He just missed Brian Hoyer.
Right. Yeah. He's catching passes from his backside, right? He's there's balls that look like Geno's throwing the ball away, and he's like, no, don't throw that away. I got that. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's doing stuff with the ball that's incredible. That's why, he was ranked as highly as he was, and some will say he's ranked a little bit too low, right? What did he come in, number 60 on the NFL Top 100 list? So number 60, but again, you got to think about that. That's coming off of a 12-game season last year. As a matter of fact, even though he only played 12 games, was still the number 1 receiver for the Raiders last year. Trey Tucker was right behind him, but Trey played all 17 games. So as much as, the season wasn't very good offensively, and we talk about what we saw from Ashton Jeanty and what we didn't see from Ashton Jeanty, can you imagine if he actually played, Brock Bowers actually played the whole season, and wasn't banged up? I mean, he was playing most of those games outside of week 1, compromised. If he wasn't banged up and he was healthy, like he was the majority of his rookie year, I can only imagine how good a season Ashton Jeanty could have had, because then you have to pick your poison. Who are you going to stop? Are you stopping Bowers, or are you going to try to stop Jeanty? I think most are going to try to stop Bowers, most likely. So, that's something that our next guest, as a matter of fact, Kirk Morrison brought up a couple weeks ago when he said that if Bowers doesn't get injured week 1, just imagine what Jeanty could have done his rookie year. So now you're getting Bowers back healthy. You're getting Jeanty back healthy. You've got Big Mike in part of the mix as well. I'd like to see him get involved offensively. Right, you want to that could be someone's answer to the question as well. You want to talk about a guy you like to see involved in the offense more? How about Big Mike? Definitely like to see him involved. We've been talking about Big Mike and his involvement in the offense since he was drafted. Since the Raiders traded up in the second round to go get the guy out of Notre Dame that at one point was the best tight end in college football as well. And then the Raiders 2 years in a row, you get the best tight end in college football. You get Big Mike 1 year, and then you get Brock Bowers. Then that had us all talking about, oh, man, this is going to be very Patriots-like. This is going to be Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. This is, that's immediately where you go to, right? If all of a sudden a team has 2 really good tight ends, it's like, oh, that's exactly who they're going to be, and it never came to fruition for one reason or the other. So Big Mike is a guy, as much as, I talk about talking and chopping it up with Jack Bech in the locker room, talking with Michael Mayer, he always keeps a positive attitude as well. And I'm sure it's a little challenging to keep that positive attitude when you've been highly successful your whole life, and then you've been a pro and you haven't been able to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. And you're not as much of a factor as you'd like to be. I mean, that would be challenging for any of us in anything that we do. Right? If I went from doing 5 radio shows a week to doing 1, I don't know how I'd act. I'd act some kind of way. You'd have to put an APB out on me, man. What's going on with Q? Where's he at? What do you do? Is he all right? Let's do a wellness check on him, man, because you know the dude's not doing. He's down bad.
Would never be going to break.
Man, I'd come back and be like, commercial free hours. We're going commercial free, baby. 3 hours. As a matter of fact, we're going 4 hours.
The next 4 days is all commercials, right?
Right, exactly. Y'all can catch up on commercials on someone else's time. Y'all ain't doing no commercials on my time.
By the way, that'd be the number 1 show in the history of the universe, by the way.
It'd probably be my last show, too.
No money, sorry.
The powers that be would be like, Q, we're going to need to see you in the office as soon as you get off the air. All right, I got another hour. No. Your time is over. We'll matter of fact, go on and turn your key card in, brother.
You need all that.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just telling you that just as creatures of habit of something that we do and that we are passionate about doing, if all of a sudden you're not doing it at the level that you were, you're going to start to get frustrated. But I'm telling you, Michael Mayer's been a pro's pro. And the Raiders locker room has a bunch of pro's pro. As far as I'm concerned, they've really done a good job with having guys in the locker room that love football, not necessarily what football does for them. Kirk Morrison, Raiders broadcast, Tackle for Loss TV, Raiders linebacker, longtime NFL linebacker, will join us next. We ask the question, 702-365-9200. Hit the text line. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense and one on defense? Let us know your thoughts. As mentioned, Kirk Morrison joins us next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
I'm not kidding you. Me and Eric Allen jumped out high-fiving each other. The producer's going crazy because of the Trey Tucker touchdown. It's almost like we were, that girlfriend in a relationship. She never gets taken out, and so that you go to Sizzler and she's so excited. That was us. We are so starved of efficient offensive play over the past couple of years that was so encouraging. It feels good.
Raiders color analyst Kirk Morrison is live with Q Myers right now on Unnecessary Roughness.
That's a throwback right there. That's going all the way back to September 10th, 2025. Amber Thea Harris celebrating a Trey Tucker touchdown and brings up a throwback for real, one that I know we went down a long rabbit hole on this show talking about, and that was Sizzler. And who didn't love a good Sizzler back in the day, the steak and all-you-can-eat shrimp? Sign me up for that every day of the week. And twice on Sunday. Kirk Morrison joins us now on the phone lines here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. Kirk, what you know about Sizzler back in the day, my man?
You didn't even talk about the cheese toast yet.
I know that's right.
That was the best part, right? Forget all. Look, the all-you-can-eat shrimp was great, and then the steak, the salad bar. But man, keep the shrimp. Keep the cheese toast coming.
Yes.
It was good, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a throwback for real. You know where we from if we talking about Sizzler, man. That's exactly. Yes. That's awesome. I love it. That's only Amber could pull up Sizzler on the show here and do it like she did. But she did. And that's why she is who she is. Well, Kirk, I got to ask you, man, a couple weeks out from the start of training camp. The rookies, they report this week, but the veterans not till the 28th. As a player, what's going through your mind right now as you get ready for this gauntlet that is training camp and the regular season?
Well, I think it's different mindsets. Rookies-wise, you just want to go in and get ready to go in and make an impact, right? You're trying to learn as much as you can. You got a lot during the OTA and mini camps, but, training camp is a different animal. You get in there a little bit early, and you kind of go through kind of what the routine is going to be. What time I got to wake up to go get over to the facility, what time I got to get taped, I got to get stressed, and the meeting time, because once the veterans come in, training camp, it is, they're throwing everything at you. There's no time for, I had a coordinator would always just tell me, my boy Rob Ryan, and I love saying that, smart football players get you extensions, dumb football players get you fired. And so you'll find out real quick what guys who you can trust. That's what training camp was about, building trust on guys who you believe in that can go out there and help you execute offensively and defensively. So when you ask kind of what's going through the mindset is like going out there and being able to execute and do it practice after practice after practice. Consistency. That's what it comes down to as well, consistency. You don't want to have a good practice here, and then you don't hear from the guy for 3 or 4 days, and all of a sudden he has a good practice here. Like, no, it's about stacking days in training camp.
I love the fact that you said trust. I was talking about that last week, that if you don't trust the guy next to you, that'll make you try to do too much. Right? That'll make you try to go and make a play because you don't trust that the guy next to you is going to be in his place or go make that play. And so that's part of this, right? Training camp, where you're making sure that the 11 guys that are out there with you are going to go make the plays and be where they need to be when they're supposed to be there.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's how I got my start with the silver and black. When I first came in, I was a nickel linebacker, and that was the one thing that I had to learn. And here's another extra one for you, Q, because I had a chance to talk to a couple of rookies a couple weeks back, and what I told them is that what they're giving you now, make sure you master that. So they're not going to give rookies everything. They're not giving Mendoza or Crawford or, Zoom. They're not going to give them everything, but they're going to give them something. And with the something that you get, master that. Because once you're able to master that, then they'll add more, right? It's for everybody out there who's got kids, right? You give them a little bit on their plate to see if they like it, see if they can handle it. And all of a sudden they ate it all. You're like, okay, I can give them a little more. Maybe we can expand the palette a little more. And I think that's what happens with the rookies. Because once you're able to master something, I was able to handle the nickel linebacker spot and come in, play my role. But then that also expanded into the base role. And immediately, the first game of the season, I go out there, a nickel versus the New England Patriots. But my guy who started the game actually blew a coverage right away. And so here I am right away, a rookie out there in base in the first game of the season under the lights in Foxborough. And it's like, well, here we go. Because I showed that I can master one spot, but I was able to add more to the plate. And once I was able to add more onto my plate, I never came off the field again in the silver and black. So that is something that you build up trust throughout this process. I was able to do that, man, and I think that's going to be huge for a lot of the rookies as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Kirk Morrison is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. As far as, everyone always talks about the camp battles. And what I've been told, Kirk, obviously I've never been in the trenches and had any kind of camp battle, but I've been told that there's not really as many open spots as people think about and talk about, and we talk about who can lose a job and who can't. The team and the coaching staff, don't they have a pretty good idea who's going to be on that 53 right now?
Yeah, because the economics of the NFL tell you that. I've always known that. The economics of the NFL tell me who is going to make this team, who's possibly on the bubble of making this team, and who's possibly an older veteran who's making a lot of money that could on the possibility or the verge who could be released or cut. The economics tell me that. Everybody's playing with the same, playbook or grocery list, I should say, or budget, I should say, when it comes to the NFL. And you start to realize, where can we save money here if we've got a guy who is playing at a higher level, who may be a younger player that we are not paying a king's ransom to, that is actually that can give us a similar type of production. So that's kind of the thing that you see. The training camp battles aren't necessarily between players; it's between budget. Okay, I'm just giving you some game right now. It's not like because I can get A-level play from this guy, or I'll make it better. Hold on. If I'm getting C-level play and I'm getting this I'm getting B-level play from this player.
Right.
But then I have a younger player and I'm getting a similar type of production, and he's right now at a C, but he can continue to keep going up to a B and possibly an A. That's what happens. That's how you start to see rosters turn over. And that's part of what I'm talking about. The battles may not be between who's going to be your starting guard and who's going to be the backup behind them. to me, I always say the economics is the battle of if we're getting more production from this player, or we think it's going to be more, and we can save $1 or $2 because we're going to have to pay Brock Bowers, a king's ransom next year. Why not get ahead of it? So I think that's always something I always look at when it comes to the quote-unquote training camp battles. It's more, for me, the battle versus where you can save some money at, but also put the young guys on the field a little bit sooner rather than later.
So I'm assuming that you're dropping some fantastic nuggets on us when you send me the 8v8. What is the 8v8?
Well, it's actually a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But you know me, I'm always looking for something.
Exactly.
And something that I broke down just in my mind, and I think I never see us talk about it enough. We always talk about, what the contributions from the upcoming rookie class, right? Mm-hmm. Or the contribution of who's the big guy who's in for a breakout year, or guy in number 2 who you're looking for. But I honestly believe I want to look at first-round picks from last year versus this year. I think the Raiders' season comes down to what they get out of their first-round picks. Not necessarily who they've drafted, but the players on their team. Because I look back and I say, man, the Raiders had a lot of first-round picks on their roster in 2025, but they didn't get anything out of them. Think about it. Whether it was Devin White, who ended up, yes, he set a record in tackles last year, but he didn't make a lot of impactful plays, right?
Yep.
Or I throw it, look, Christian Wilkins didn't even play.
Yeah.
Tyree Wilson's not even on the team anymore. Mm-hmm. Eric Stokes stood tall and as a former first-round pick showed that, hey, he can still be a first-round type of player. I was excited for him and his play. But Colton Miller didn't have a Colton Miller type year, a first-round pick. Kenny Pickett, first play he comes into, he fumbles, okay? Mm-hmm. So just think about the first-round picks on last year's roster.
Wow.
What did you get out of them? You didn't get anything.
Right.
Fast forward to 2026, the former first rounders, or even your own first rounders. I'm just guys with a first round tag. I'm thinking about the production, okay? Because their production may be why this team wins. And I look at it in 2026 and I'm saying, Fernando Mendoza, what could he be? But then the guys who I believe I'm going to count on in Bowers, Genty, Colton Miller, Linderbaum, Quay Walker, Kwity Paye. Mm-hmm. You've got guys who, guess what, Q? They are now in their prime, not even to their prime yet, or they're still playing, I think, at the highest level of their football. And look, as a guy who's been a former Raider, who's always a Raider fan, who's a former player, who's an analyst, the Raiders traditionally would get guys who were drafted in the first round at the end of their career, right?
Yep.
We get the Jerry Rice at the end, right?
Yeah.
Not the Jerry at the beginning, right?
Yep.
And hey, don't get me wrong, Jerry at the end was a baller. Now I'm not taking anything away from Jerry, man. Jerry was cold, but he wasn't, Jerry in the Niners in the '80s. We got the 2000s version of him. Mm-hmm. So I bring all that up is that I'm used to seeing us get that player who we saw in their prime, but we got them at the end where they were exiting their prime. Okay, I look at the Raiders getting these guys who aren't even in their prime, or to me, not even entered into it yet, man. So that's what my breakdown was this weekend, and my head was going down and writing it down. I'm seeing like, the Raiders had, I counted, 9 first-round picks on their roster in 2025, and they got no production. And I threw in Brock Bowers in that because he was hurt, not because he just was hurt. Then I look at 2026, and I'm saying, hey, dog, these first-rounders are going to be key contributors. And we're talking about not dudes at the end of their careers. We're talking about dudes who still got a lot to prove and got some big chips on their shoulder, some boulders on their shoulder. Forget the chips, boulders. Mm-hmm. So that is something I was working on, and I kept adding on to it. I'm saying for a team that had this many first-round picks a year ago, you didn't get no production. And I think 2026, we will get the production from the first-round picks or guys who have what I call the first-round pick label.
And then you could throw Ashton Genty in that as well, right? I mean, the first round pick.
Absolutely, yeah. He's part of the battery. I'll call him the battery, right? It's,
yes.
You know, it's looking about it. Fernando, Ashton, Bowers, Linderbaum, Miller. That's on offense. Mm-hmm. Defense: Kwity Paye, Quay, Eric Stokes. Like that. That's your. I mean, you throw in Philip Dorsett, too. We'll see what happens during training camp. I get it, because, Raider fan, well, Philip Dorsett's on the roster. I get it. I get it.
Right.
I do my homework. I'm just not throwing names out there, people. I get it. But I'm just talking about who we assume to be a key contributor on this football team. I'm just comparing 2025 first-rounders compared to the 2026 first-rounders on this roster. And I think that's going to be a big key, because we got nothing out of it last year. I mean, Jamal Adams, Devin White. I mean, think about it. Like, we got the dudes at the end of their career, not the guys who are in the beginning of their career.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. The Raiders have traditionally always got that guy maybe getting one more contract, looking for that big payday. I think of Warren Sapp, right? Warren Sapp, not Tampa Bay Warren Sapp, but Raider Warren Sapp, right? It was just different. There's a lot of guys that were at the end of their career that the Raiders got him, and they had a good name. Yeah. Their name was big, but at that stage of the game, it just wasn't there as much as consistency.
I didn't want to drop no names on people like that.
I had to drop Warren. I had to drop Warren Sapp's name out there, man.
Yeah, I know. Because he was like, "Oh, you talking about Warren Sapp?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Nah, man." I'm like, "Look, I played with Aaron Brooks. You know what I mean?
Right.
I got the Kerry Collins, not the one that started the Super Bowl for the Giants. I got the end of his career at Kerry Collins. You know what I mean? Like. So when it comes to quarterback, so I'm just thinking about, man, how big or how huge the production could be from these first-round guys, because I know a lot of people I've talked to always talk about roster building and how do you build a roster. And I said, well, I understand that, but you've got some first-round picks. Mm-hmm. Those guys have to be monsters, okay? They've got to be your leaders, and then your guys who you drafted and how you built the team after that, those guys come along and pick up what the team is all about. The minute you say first rounder, everybody's eye, they light up, because there's a certain kind of production that goes along with it. And we didn't get that in 2025. And my hope and what I'm banking on is that we will get a ton of it, production from that group that are former first rounders. We're going to get a ton of that production in 2026.
Agree with you 100%. Fantastic stuff. Kirk Morrison with us here, Raider Nation Radio 920. We'll close out with this. It's actually a second-round pick that I wanted to ask you about. Jack Besh. He's a guy who only had 20 catches last year. For one reason or the other, wasn't on the field too much. I believe he was drafted to be Jacoby Myers' eventual replacement. Can he play a role similar to Jacoby, where he extends drives? He's that guy on 3rd and 7 that they find, and he's able to get to the sticks and get that first down.
Yeah, he'll have a role, and his role, like I said, is going to be hard to be defined until you put the pads on. He's not go to OTAs and minicamp and in shorts and in walkthroughs and see who Jack Besh is as a player. I mean, Jack Besh had some key plays last year for a rookie in the offense that he was not featured at all. But I think about, him making the big catch against New England. I keep thinking about some of those plays down the stretch. And you said, man, you want to see more of it, but we just couldn't, because they weren't being able to get let out there on the football field. He is a physical player. He's never going to be a burner. He's never going to run past you. That's just what it is. He was like, oh, he doesn't get separation. Look, there's a lot of receivers in the league that don't get separation, but they're able to still make plays. I mean, Anquan Bolden was a guy who was just physical. Man. And I'm not saying that Jack Besh could be Anquan Bolden, but you knew Anquan Bolden wasn't going to run away from you. But, man, you look into the stat sheet, I mean, the dude had
tough as nails, man. He was tough as nails.
He had 8 catches a game. He's like, well, how did he get 8 catches like that? Just because you put it in the vicinity, he's going to make the play. Mm-hmm. A lot of this is all going to come down to the offense of Clint Kubiak. And I would love to see, and this was this was something I used to always count when I was a member of the Rams radio broadcast. Sean McVay would always have these WAOs, okay? Mm-hmm. WAOs were wide ass open, okay? The Raiders ain't never really had a lot of those. Let's just be honest, right? Like, how the heck he get wide ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm believing that Clint Kubiak's offense is going to have a lot of WAOs,
Nice.
which is something I think that we haven't seen in the past. But it goes along with the philosophy of his offense. We thought Chip Kelly's offense last year was going to be that, right? Mm-hmm. We were so excited about what it was going to be with 12 personnel and Jacoby Myers. We could name the list, and we're like, oh my God! But tell me how many times that we saw. Actually, that may have been me leading into this interview. Was the one time we saw somebody wide ass open?
Right.
Remember?
Right. Yes. Yep. Yep.
And that's why Amber Theo Harris was so excited, because we had never seen it.
Right.
And we had never saw it again the rest of the season.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
And that was against the Commanders. So we were like, oh, my God. And then we never saw it the rest of the season. Now, that being said, I saw a lot of that with that Seattle Seahawks offense last year, whether it was Cooper Kupp, whether it was Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jake Bobo. Man, a guy who I really, really love because he's a Mountain West guy, and he's a former Colorado State guy, the same as Clint Kubiak. But Torrey Horton, wide receiver, he was wide open a lot. He got injured. So people don't realize how good he was with that Seattle Seahawks offense. And then Rashid Shaheed came over. Look, I'm excited to see what I saw last year, because I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of those types of plays happen for some of these players. And what does that do? Benefits a guy like Jack Besh. Okay? That's why I brought it all up. So hopefully he can be some of those WAOs, okay?
Yes. Hey, I love it. I love it. Ari's going to put that WAO up on the window right there in the studio as soon as we wrap up. That's going up on the window. WAOs. We need to see more of that in 2026. Guys that are wide ass open. That's fantastic. I love it. That is a great breakdown. That's a mic drop moment. Well, with all that being said, Kirk, what else are you working on? I know you're working on some nuggets for training camp coming up.
Yeah, no, this weekend I just got a big weekend, man. Flag football is a big weekend. I know you saw a lot of ESPN coverage. Yep. Teddy Bruschi, Cal Brandt be out there, man. Chris Rose. It's a big festival of things going on this weekend out in Indianapolis. So excited to be a part of that broadcast, and that's about it, man. I'm just watching as everybody glazes over these SEC quarterbacks this week during SEC Media Days. So I'm letting the college folks have their week this week, because once it's over, it's over. I'm just glad I don't have to say football no more. It's football time. No more football.
That's right.
Football time.
That's right. I mean?
Like, I'm tired of faking like I'm a soccer expert. Like, let's be real. It was great for 2 weeks, or 3. I'm going to do it for 6 weeks. I was great. But you know what? It's now time. Now time for football.
Yep. It got us through. It got us through. It gave us a nice little taste test. It got us through, and now here we are. So we're good to go. Great stuff.
Yep. It gave us a nice little taste, man. That's all we needed, man. It's finally over. It's finally over.
No doubt. And training camp is right around the corner. Well, fantastic stuff. Do your thing at your flag football, and we'll be catching up soon.
All right. Sound good, Q, man. Great to catch up with you.
Yes, sir. You're the same. Kirk Morrison right there. Fantastic stuff. WAO. Wide ass open. How often did you see a wide receiver for the Raiders, a running back for the Raiders, a tight end for the Raiders running wide ass open? I would agree with Kirk. It was very, very few times. That Trey Tucker sound that we heard coming in, that was week 3 action against Washington, might have been the only time in 2025. We get your thoughts on the text line next at 702-365-9200. What player do you want to see take a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer? One on offense, one on defense. Hit the text line. Let us know your thoughts. Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, joins us next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's exciting, man. I think just continuing to learn, get better, grow as a player, and, just help the team be better.
Gino's clapping his hands on 3rd and short. Inside handoff. Genty inside the 5. First down to the goal line. Touchdown, Raiders! Ashton Genty on the inside handoff. A 6-yard run. Deuces in the end zone. And the Raiders take a 6-0 lead with 3:02 to go first quarter.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
As we kick off hour number 2 of the show, we come into the sounds of Ashton Jeanty talking about year number 2 and also one of his 5 touchdowns that he had on the ground his rookie year. He also had 5 receiving touchdowns, 1,300 yards from scrimmage. And I think all of us would look at what Ashton Jeanty did his rookie year and say, yeah, there's a lot of meat left on that bone. Obviously, the offensive line and a better offensive scheme has a lot to do with that as well. It's Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. We bring in our good friend Tyler Dragon from USA Today Sports. And Tyler, thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate you. Real quick, what are your thoughts on Ashton Jeanty and what to expect from him in year 2 now under this Clint Kubiak-led offense?
Well, the running back position, it's affected by the offensive line. And when you look at what the Raiders' offensive line was last year, they were bottom half in the NFL and run block win rate. And so you're not going to get a lot of running lanes to run through if you're Ashton Jeanty. I covered multiple games when he was with the Raiders, and as soon as he got the ball, he had defenders already in the backfield. So the Raiders, yes, they did a good job of upgrading their offensive line this offseason, headlined by Tyler Linderbaum, and I expect Jeanty to reap the rewards off that. And is he going to get 1,000 yards? We'll see. The Raiders offense, I do think they are going to be better. I do like some of the pieces that they made. Particularly, they made most of their moves on defense. But when you add a Fernando Mendoza, who might play maybe middle of the season, and Ashton Jeanty in the backfield, I mean, Kirk Cousins, he's not a bad quarterback, but he's definitely a veteran that can win some games. I do like the direction that the Raiders franchise is going. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to have a better season with the improved offensive line and hopefully for the Raiders' sake an improved quarterback play as well.
Absolutely. They need it. 100%. Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. I did want to ask you about your article on players turn up the pressure for grass fields following the World Cup, and that just got wrapped up. We saw Spain get the win yesterday versus Argentina, and I thought that was fantastic. But to the point of your article, a lot of NFL players are saying, you know, that they want that grass field like the soccer players had that opportunity to play on the grass field. From my understanding, Tyler, it's not just that easy for the owners to go in there and just switch it up and have grass fields, but why not? Why don't the NFL owners have grass fields like FIFA made sure that their soccer players were playing on?
The simple answer is money. The
Right.
owners don't want to pay for it. The upkeep is more expensive than artificial turf. You're going to have to water the grass. You're going to have to take care of the grass. I mean, the upkeep, yes, it is a lot more strenuous and a lot harder than artificial turf. And you're talking to a guy who has artificial turf in his backyard, so I know. I wanted artificial
I do too, brother.
as opposed to grass. But
Right.
when you talk to NFL players, I mean, just the wear and tear on your body, the artificial turf is not forgiving, and
Right.
Grass is a lot softer on your joints. It's a lot. It provides a little bit more of a cushion when you get tackled. It's easier to plant. It's easier to cut, and so players, they prefer grass. Now, when you look at it, 92% of players in the NFL prefer natural grass over artificial turf. So if the players are saying that in abundance, and it's not 10%, 30%, not even 50%, it's 92%. That's almost the entire National Football League. The owners have to take into account of that. And it's not like the owners are losing money. And it might be a bigger hit in their pockets, but they are pocketing a whole lot of money, and the owners can certainly afford it.
Yeah, they can. And the players, they use the hashtag worth the cost. So with that being said, Tyler, in my mind, all I envision is next time they have a CBA, that's going to be the bargaining chip. That'll be the one. Okay, well, we'll give you grass fields, but then you have to give us X, Y, and Z. Can you see that being part of the next CBA equation?
Oh, 100% is going to be part of the next CBA. I mean, when you look at soccer, the soccer players said, we're just not going to play on artificial turf. If you want the World Cup in the United States, there needs to be grass. The players are going to have to take that big of a stance and say, we're not going to play these games. We're not going to agree on a new CBA unless we get to play a natural grass. Now, if you want some, you're going to have to give some. And I'm sure the owners are going to want something in return, probably something in return where they won't have to take a beating in their pockets as much. But it's going to be interesting to see the give and take that's going to happen when they're going to negotiate. But it's trending in the direction where the next CBA, the players are going to say that they want natural grass as opposed to artificial turf, especially when you have 92% of players across the National Football League that favor it.
Do you imagine not the pushback, but what the owners say that they want is what, that 18th game, or make sure that there's one game every single week in overseas, so they can expand their international play. Could that be part of it, or do you think that might happen before the next CBA?
I think that might happen before the next CBA, especially the overseas games. However, I do like where you're going about that 18th game. If they want natural grass, maybe the owners will say that. I think it's still relatively unknown what the owners are going to want in exchange for the natural grass, but I can guarantee you it's something that's going to benefit the owners' pockets,
right?
No matter what it's going to be.
Yes, it always does. There's no doubt about that. Again, Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, is with us here. RaiderNation Radio 920. Another piece that you have out is the best landing spots for some free agents that are still out there and available. And before we get to any of the free agents available, do you have any idea what the hell the goal is for Brandon Ayuk? Like, what is he actually trying to achieve with everything that he's been doing on social media?
It's funny because I already knew where you were going with that question when you said, what the hell? I already knew where you were going with that. And it's just unfortunate because Brandon Ayuk, it's just a classic case of just hurting yourself. And every time he goes on social media and his social media antics, he's discouraging teams, discouraging agents from signing him as a client, discouraging teams from wanting to trade for him. He's cheapening his value because he's still the 49ers still own his rights. So he's hurting himself every time he does what he does on social media. And I would not be surprised at all if he does not play this season. And his NFL career is certainly in jeopardy if he doesn't get his head on straight quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Do you think that the 49ers eventually will just get tired of him and just release him, or is it just because he's not even really counting against their roster that they don't even care?
Yeah, he's not counting against their roster this year, so I don't think they really care. The 49ers at the owners' meetings and when I have spoken to them, they want something in exchange for Ayuk. However, Ayuk is hurting his value every time he goes on social media. So the 49ers are like, okay, well, he's not counting against our salary. He's not taking up a roster spot. So we're just going to set him right here and let him ruin his own career because he already kind of ruined our season as far as our wide receiver room last year. So this is payback for you for doing what you did, and we don't really care what you do anymore because you're not really hurting us this season.
Yeah, it blows my mind with everything that he's doing, all his antics. It just, to me, doesn't make any kind of sense. But then again, I guess it's not for us to make sense of it. It's for Brandon Ayuk to do what he thinks, I guess, is right. If we're going to go out on a limb, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but clearly he's not. And he's obviously getting some bad advice as well. Again, Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. So some of these free agents that are out there available, Von Miller was here in town not too long ago for the SAC Summit alongside Max Crosby. Where do you think Von Miller ends up playing, and is he on a team that's a contender, and he's just trying to get one more ring?
Well, it's interesting because Von Miller went out and said on a podcast recently that not signing with the Seahawks was a mistake. Now, hindsight is 20/20. Of course, he would like another Super Bowl ring, but I would like him to sign with the Seahawks. I mean, you look at what the Rams have done this offseason and loaded up for a potential Super Bowl run in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium. No, Von Miller is not going to have the impact as a Myles Garrett, but at least it's somebody you can put in the building that can be a third down specialist, a pass rush specialist that still knows how to get it done at this advanced age. Is he going to start? No. Is he going to get 10, 15 sacks? Probably not, but you can have Von Miller in a pinch and get your defense a spark, especially on a crucial third down, a crucial fourth down at the end of the game. So I would like him with the Seattle Seahawks.
What about Stephon Diggs? He came out and said that he's better than most teams' number 2 wide receiver that they have right now. Is there too much off-the-field stuff going around Stephon Diggs to sign him right now, or do you think a team is just they're about to do that?
I don't think the off-field stuff is hurting him too much. I know kind of his court cases got dismissed earlier this offseason. I believe he's probably going to sign with the team maybe as early as this week or next week when training camps kick off. But to me, I feel like the Commanders seem like a logical landing spot for him. Not only is he from the DMV area, but he has ties there. I think he'll be a really good fit in Washington. The Commanders need a number 2 receiver since they lost to Deebo Samuel in free agency. Well, Deebo Samuel's still a free agent, so I do think that's a good fit for Stephon Diggs.
Does it feel like Deebo Samuel's going to end up back in San Francisco? It seems like there's a lot of flirtation with San Francisco again.
I just don't think it's a fit because when you look at the 49ers room, and they did get a Mike Evans, and he's going to get a whole lot of footballs thrown his way. Now, maybe so. I mean, the 49ers, when you look at that division, seems like all the attention is going to the LA Rams. The Seahawks are defending Super Bowl champions. So the 49ers made a splash move and a Mike Evans. Maybe they have another move to kind of keep up with the Joneses in the division. But I like the 49ers wide receiver room as it is.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I've been seeing a lot of Deebo and talking about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and I was like, wait, hold on, man. This guy couldn't wait to get out of town. Now it seems like he's trying to work his way back to town. So, all right, we'll see what happens with Deebo Samuel. Again, Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports, is with us here, Raider Nation Radio 920. I did want to ask you about the Commanders. Deebo Samuel's team he played with last year. You talked about Stephon Diggs going to the Commanders. How big a season is this for Dan Quinn, for Jaden Daniels, for that Commanders team, knowing that they didn't follow up his rookie year the way that all of us thought they were going to do?
I think Dan Quinn is coach on the hot seat this year. When you look at how last year transpired, now they get a new offensive coordinator, and Jaden Daniels is the franchise. You had struck lightning in a bottle his rookie year going all the way to the NFC Championship game, and last year, by all intents and purposes, was a disaster the way Jaden was in and out of the lineup and the way the Commanders finished. But if the Commanders see themselves on the outside looking in the playoffs again, I mean, it would not surprise me at all if Dan Quinn was without a job after this season. The Commanders, they should be easily a playoff contender and competing in the division. You look at what they did this offseason, I like their draft picks. The free agency was pretty good, got some pass rushers in the building. So the Commanders have a team that should be able to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles of the world and the Dallas Cowboys for that NFC East title.
Yeah, the Commanders, they look like they got old really quick. That roster got old really quick, and so they got to turn that thing around, get it young, and get back to where they were. Well, fantastic stuff, Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports. We'll close out with this. We just got a text from our guy, Grumpy Ass Mexican. He said, Q, can you ask Tyler if he knows what's going to happen with the grass fields already laid down for the World Cup that are in those stadiums like we saw in New York and New Jersey?
They're in the process of taking them out and putting back in the synthetic, artificial turf, already. They already have at SoFi Stadium, and they are going to cross the league. So, unfortunately for the players in the NFL, the artificial turf is being installed back in those NFL stadiums.
Wow, that just seems like an incredible waste of money. right? It just, I mean, it just seems like if you already have it, you have it. But, yeah, I mean, again, I know the maintenance and everything, but, man, that just seems like an incredible amount of wasted money, even though I know the World Cup, the revenue was incredible from that World Cup that got wrapped up with the Spain victory on Sunday. Well, fantastic stuff as always, Tyler. Man, what are you working on? You got a couple articles out right now, but what are you working on that we should look out for ahead of training camp?
Yeah, I have storylines for each NFL team entering training camp that's going to go up later this week. So every 32 teams, I diagnose their biggest storyline, and so that's going to be on usatoday.com this week. So take a look at it.
Boom, we definitely will. Great stuff as always, my man. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. And we made it. It's football season. It's just about back, my man.
Right. We made it. Have a good one.
All right, you do the same. Great stuff as always. Tyler Dragon, USA Today Sports with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. Yeah, you would think that they could just do so. The grass is already down, right? It's a great question, by the way, on the text line from Grumpy Ass Mexican. Appreciate that. You would feel like it's already down, right? I mean, at least use it until you can't use it no more, right? I mean, at least get some use out of it. And instead, it's like, all right, let's just go ahead and pull that up and go back to the artificial turf that we already had. And, that's why, Allegiant Stadium, I talk about the greatness of Allegiant Stadium. I love the fact that Mark Davis has the Raiders playing on grass. I love the fact that the tray, rolls out for after the game, and they treat it, they take care of it, they water it, they do everything that they can, and then roll that bad boy back in before game day. Because the players are not wrong. The players should be playing on grass. I get the economics behind it. That's why you see, especially me being in Texas as long as I was covering Texas high school football, you see every major stadium in Texas has all the artificial turf because that's, football's king, and they want to make sure that they're able to, keep their stadium in great condition and not have to replace the field all the time and the maintenance that Tyler was talking about. But, man, that turf is so hard on your body. It is just, I mean, it will mess you up. You see certain stadiums. I always go back to, we talk about RG3 and his career there in Washington. They rolled him out there on a bad knee and then had him playing on that field there in Washington, and that was awful. Then they told him to keep running the RPOs. Like, it's already bad. He's got a bad knee, right? He's already out there trying to do what he probably shouldn't have been doing. And then they got that terrible turf, and then they're like, hey, we're going to have you run the ball all the time. Like, that was a triple negative, and you saw what happened with his career, and he never did rebound. But there's so many players that you see their foot gets stuck in the turf, and they go one way, their knee goes another way. It's just, not that injuries don't happen on grass, but, man, it sure is a lot easier to see these guys get banged up when they're on that artificial surface. So, man, I would love to see them all playing on grass, and I do think that when the next CBA comes out and the owners want something, the players will say, hey, well, we have to have grass. And then the owners will give in, but then they'll get something else out of it. It's like when they had that last CBA and that nobody wanted to get tested for weed, right? Remember, nobody wanted to get tested for weed, so they rolled out this fantastic CBA that everyone sold as a fantastic CBA that I don't even think the NFLPA president even reviewed the contract. But, hey, they didn't get tested for weed anymore, so it was good. And then after everyone signed it and agreed to it, they realized, like, yeah, you know what, this CBA really doesn't benefit us too much outside of the fact that we don't get tested for weed no more. So that's what's going to end up happening, and that's, as much as I understand and agree with the players about, wanting to play on grass and voicing their opinion on it, they're also giving the owners the cheat code to what's going to get it done for whatever they need. Oh, hey, what's the issue that the players really have? Remember they were talking about the grass fields. All right, well, if we go and give the extra expense, and they'll make it sound like that too. It costs so much money to maintain and keep this and keep that. They'll say that, right? And then, but you have to give us this, that, and the third. And it might just be that 18th game if it's not already put into effect. Once they had that 17th game, you knew an 18th game was on the way. And we all love it because it's more football, but it's just more wear and tear on the players' bodies as well. So many thanks to Tyler Dragon and his time this afternoon. We definitely appreciate you. And again, shout out to Allegiant Stadium. Shout out to Mark Davis, because the Raiders, they play on grass. 702-365-9200. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense, one on defense? The breakout performer that's been talked about quite a bit is Ashton Genty, but we all know that. So who's one that might not have a role that's as big as the Ashton Genty that you'd like to see step up on offense and on defense? My answers were Jack Besh as the wide receiver and Tonka Hemingway as far as that defensive tackle position goes. But those are my answers. What says you? 702-365-9200. Let's go out to the phone lines, talk to our guy, Raider Mike. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
What's up, Ari? I'm good to go. Yeah, this grass thing is, well, one, it gives the Raiders a huge advantage for bringing free agents over.
Yep.
They're going to want to play on it. Have you ever played on turf?
Yep.
I did.
Yep, I know all about it.
It's horrifying.
Yep.
It's like concrete.
Mm-hmm.
So, 18th game to have all 18 games on grass? Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, bro. I've never got that. I mean, these players, what's the average? 3 years?
Yeah, about.
Guess what? We extended to 5 or 6 because we're all playing on grass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like twice the pressure of a hit when you hit the turf. It's painful. And I played football on it, but also soccer. Soccer, you hit that, it's a road rash, like a motorcycle spilled, and your leg was underneath it. So I don't know. It's ridiculous to me. It has been for years, and the players are the product.
Yep.
Why aren't you protecting your product as best as you can? So, and I don't even think that they should have to bargain for it. It should just be a thing. This
Agreed.
is it.
Agreed.
So anyway, I'm off my soapbox on that. Before I get to the two players, I watched that tournament, World Cup. I knew Spain was going to take this down. That they are technicians.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most frustrating team to play against I've ever seen. And they're going to do it again, probably. They might repeat. So, anyway, the two players, I think if Michael Mayer doesn't step up and is used correctly, he'll be gone by the trade deadline because maybe he just needs a change of scenery. Vegas just isn't his thing. Because Notre Dame, he was almost as dominant as Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
he was dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, use him or lose him, because someone's going to trade for him, and it'll be a decent, maybe a third round pick back, maybe a fourth, somewhere in there. But I hate to see that guy sit on the bench and rot. It's ridiculous. I just don't agree with it. So Michael's the pick on offense. Darian Porter has all, as far as the body and his intangibles, I mean, he's got the skills to do this. Let's see if Mr. Leonard can bring it out in him, because that guy's talented, very talented. He just hasn't played much ball, and he needs to play more ball.
Yep.
Put him in the game, coach. Don't let me sit here and rot. Let me have a shot at the starting role. Let me prove myself. So those are my two, Q. Good to hear your voice. Take care, Ari. Raiders, I'm out, bro. Peace.
There he goes, Raider Mike. Thanks for the call. Yeah, when it comes to Darian Porter, that's a tough one right there. Darian Porter was drafted, obviously, by John Spytek, right? He's more of a Pete Carroll type corner than he is, a Robbie Leonard, prototypical corner, because we don't know what a Robbie Leonard prototypical corner is, but he definitely fit the mold of a Pete Carroll corner. The problem is, if I'm Darian Porter, or if I'm anyone else in the secondary in general, if I'm Jeremy Chin, if I'm Isaiah Paul-Amal, I'm like, man, look, these dudes went out and drafted 4 guys. 4 in the secondary, right? They also went out there and traded for a nickel corner in Teron Johnson. They also brought back Eric Stokes. So if I'm a corner and I see all this, or a member of the secondary period, and I see all this addition in my position, I know that I got some dudes on my back. And as I mentioned before, for the most part, these rosters are pretty much set. I would say that there's a question mark at the corner and safety spot. I would say that that's a question mark. I think that those guys that are set as corner opposite of Eric Stokes are probably written in pencil. As much as I could say a lot of these positions are written in red ink, I would say that was in pencil. right? And who's going to be the guy, like Kirk Morrison said, who's going to be the consistent guy? Not the guy who's going to make a play here or make a play there, flash every once in a while, but who's going to consistently do their job correctly. So if I'm Darian Porter, I know that I've got Traden Stukes, running up my tail. I've got Jermod McCoy, if healthy, running up my tail, right? If I'm Isaiah Polamau, I understand. I got multiple guys that can play the safety position. Dalton Johnson, he wasn't just brought in to be a special teamer. Now, I'm sure that's how he'll cut his teeth in the NFL is by way of special teams, but he wasn't just brought in to be a special teamer, especially because he has that communication, that familiarity already with Traden Stukes, right? They weren't brought in together on accident. You know what I mean? That was an absolute, this is what we want to do. This is how we're trying to go about our business. So anybody that is in that position and has some guys that they drafted in your position, you have to understand that I have a lot of work cut out for me, especially with Darian Porter. I know that he's one of those dudes that works his tail off. He wants to be really good. I know where he came from Iowa State. Those guys under Coach Campbell were coached correctly. That's why there's so many Iowa State players in the league right now. But he's also new to the position, so if he can learn it and evolve into that consistent corner that we're talking about, and we're talking about all the positions, consistency, that's what it's about. Who is going to play that position consistently? It's great to make a splash play here or a splash play there, but you got to be able to be that guy that's reliable. And the thing about it is that corner is going to get tested so much, whoever that is. Eric Stokes did a really good job last year. I know he didn't get any interceptions, but he did a really good job of not allowing catches or not allowing yards after the catch. He did a really good job with that. You go back and look at the PFF numbers or whatever machine it is you go to check your stats and check what your eyeballs told you. He did a really good job. So more than likely, teams are going to do what? They're going to test the other side. They're going to test the unknown, whether that's Porter, whether that's McCoy, whether that's Hezekiah Masses, whether that's Stukes. It doesn't matter. Whoever is out there at that position, they're going to test that more than they're going to test what they already know. And let Eric Stokes come up with a pick or two. Then they're really going to see less attention. Or maybe a young guy steps up. Maybe all of a sudden McCoy's out there. Let's just throw out there he's a starter. And he comes up with a couple interceptions early. They might hesitate a little bit before they throw his way. And then all of a sudden, now the fire's back on Stokes. Or maybe you have really two good corners that are holding it down, ideally. Right? So that's all part of the equation. But that secondary is going to be one of the biggest storylines. We just talked to Tyler Dragon from USA Today Sports. He said he's going to be writing storylines, top storylines for each team across the league. We can easily see the one about Fernando Mendoza coming. That's easy, right? I could have wrote that story for him when it comes to the Raiders. But another storyline that I believe is going to be a big one for the Silver and Black when it comes to training camp is that secondary and all those dudes that were drafted and brought in to play a part. How big of a part do they play? 702-365-9200. Definitely want to hear from you, Raider Mike. That was a really good call. Ari, we want to hear from the folks because you have winning.
I do. I have a pair of tickets to see the Aviators versus the Tacoma Rainiers coming up in August 8th. It's already coming up, August. Unreal. August 8th at the Las Vegas Ballpark. Got a pair of tickets for that. Give me a call right now, 702-365-9200. Caller 9 and must be a Nevada resident.
Boom. There it is right there. We hear from you. Ari's got winning. We do it all next here on RaiderNation Radio 920. As you can imagine, as we do football right, we're doing it based on Brock Bowers. What you heard coming in is one of his 7 touchdowns he had in 2025, and he only played in 12 games. And I mentioned he was the number one target and highest receiver for the Raiders last year. I actually misspoke. Trey Tucker had 696 yards receiving, where Brock Bowers only had 680, but he had the most catches when it came to 64, where Trey Tucker only had 57. Tucker played in 17 games as opposed to the 12 that Brock Bowers played in. So you know, if Brock Bowers played all 17 games, where his targets would have been, where his yards would have been, where his touchdowns would have been, as he went over the touchdown mark that he had his rookie year and got a couple more of those. Like I said, in a limited amount of action, 12 games is what he played year 2. Expect a big year from Brock Bowers in year 3. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920, and we're doing football right, talking about Brock Bowers because he came in number 60 on the NFL's top 100, and whenever they roll these out, and I do take a look at these rankings because his peers are the ones that are voting him at these positions, and I know there's been some controversy where guys like Lamar Jackson and others have been voted, but Brock Bowers comes in at number 60. Again, top 100 across the entire National Football League, and in a season that he only played 12 games, I think that's pretty good respect. Now, he goes and plays all 17 this upcoming year, especially in a Clint Kubiak-led offense. I think he'll have a monster season and be much higher on the rankings than number 60. But here's what they had to say. Max Crosby was involved in a lot of this, talking about his teammate, Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I just think elite. He's one of the most talented guys I've seen. He makes the crazy things look normal all the time.
Second and goal blitz coming. Gino gets rid of it. Incomplete. Oh, wait a minute. Bowers caught it. You got to be kidding me. Bowers with one arm brings it in. That's a wide receiver one that is in a tight end's body right there.
I feel like people, forget about the other great things of his game, but he's a very willing blocker. He doesn't get enough credit for it because, like I said, how great he is at getting open and catching the ball, but he doesn't shy away from, any type of battle, regardless who it is.
Got a good block from Brock Bowers, who we just highlighted catching the ball, but he does it all.
Brother, monster. How are you, man?
Can he block you? No. I love him, but no.
Dude, Brock's sick, dude. He's almost faster with the ball in his hand, which is weird.
Bowers alone at the 35, far sideline 40, Bowers to the 50, and he's chopped out of bounds with speed at the 35-yard line.
89. We got to get over there. Whatever our rules are, cover him. I don't care what the coverage is. Okay?
We were watching a game, and he had a choice route on the right side, and he took it from the right alley all the way to the left corner of the end zone. He's a freak with the ball in his hands, and I think he's only going to get better.
He's a game changer on offense like Max Crosby is on defense.
Any favorite plays of his come to mind from this past year? Probably the back shoulder, that one-handed catch he had was ridiculous. I think it was the Jags game. Yep, he had an insane catch.
He fades, right side, Bowers.
Touchdown.
One-handed grab. He somehow pinned it. One of the toughest catches you'll ever see. He can work as an isolated receiver, one-on-one. I mean, he's as good of a young tight end that's come out of the draft in the last 10 years.
That one definitely sticks out. If you're going against DB, you might have to be a little more physical and, body him up a little bit. So it just depends on who you're going against and what the play is, really.
Thanks, Brock. You might be the best offensive player I've been around my whole entire life.
Yeah. That was nasty. He'll finesse you, but he'll also bully you.
There you go. That's with the NFL, little NFL highlight film, couple minutes on Brock Bowers. You heard Max Crosby talking about him, but then there was also other tight ends in the league. You heard Mike Vrabel talk about, I don't care what the coverage is, right? 89, go get him. Just cover him. I don't care what the call is, just cover 89. That's how good he is. That's the kind of respect that he demands. And when you talk about Brock, you got to get a good breakdown from Baldy, right? Because Baldy breakdowns are fantastic. So not only do we have the NFL sound highlighting him being the number 60 overall in the top 100, we got the Baldy breakdown to go with it.
There are one-handed catches, and then there's this one by Brock Bowers against the Chargers. Right there, just getting that hand underneath the ball and scooping it with one arm. One hand, one arm. Just a bandit stealing that touchdown right there. Second of the day against him. But you watch it coming right into your living room. The hand outstretched, the palm, and then the ability to bring it in and cradle it right there with the defender all over. That's what the Raiders have going for it this year. Brock Bowers coming back healthy with plays like that. That's a special man. That's a special player.
There you go, Baldy, Brian Baldinger right there. Always love his Baldy breakdown, especially because what you can't see, you can still see it when you hear it, right? When he's talking about it, the way he describes it, you can still visualize it in your head. That's why I love what when Baldy has his little breakdowns. A lot of times he's talking about Max, but there he's obviously talking about Brock Bowers. We've heard him break down some Ashton Genty as well, and that's really what the 2026 season is all about when it comes to offense as far as I'm concerned. Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, whatever quarterback is under center, Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza, they're both going to thrive with the help of those two dudes, Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty. So that, my friends, is how we do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
So highlighted the guys that are going to do the heavy lifting in Bowers and Jeanty offensively. But we also want to hear about what players you'd like to see have a bigger role. We've been talking about that on today's show. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense and one on defense? Got a lot of feedback, so I would definitely want to get to that. Like Sir Whiskey Ray, what's up, gentlemen? Happy Monday. Loving today's topic. Great answers from Raider Nation. I'm going to agree with you, Q, on Jack Besh. No excuses going forward. He's a second-round pick in 2025. I want to see results here this upcoming season. As for the defense, I'd like to see Kuntz go off and be that beast. We need someone to take the pressure off of Crosby. On another note, I'd like to congratulate Spain on a dominant World Cup. They only allowed one goal the entire World Cup. That's elite status in my book. Other than that, horsey reference was to my wife. It has to do with the role-playing when we come to Vegas. LOL. Thanks as always, gentlemen. Cheers, Sir Whiskey Ray. I feel like that probably part didn't have to be involved in the in the text. I feel like in this family show, we just all were scarred a little bit by Sir Whiskey Ray. I don't think we needed that part, but I get it. I do appreciate it, and there you go. I'll just go ahead and trust that y'all know what you guys are doing. You guys are adults, so I'll let y'all handle your business. But as far as your players that you were talking about, Jack Besh, second-round pick, agreed 100%. Malcolm Kuntz, we've been talking about him for a while, and last year obviously he's coming back from the torn ACL. This year, it's similar to what you said about Jack Besh. Really, no excuse. He's got to go out there. He's really got to show that he can be that running buddy, that guy across from Max Crosby, and we've seen him do it. But we saw him do it in 2023. We haven't seen it again, and we need to see him take that next step. If Max can get a true Robin to his Batman, that defense could be in a really good position, but he got to establish that other guy. And the Raiders have been looking for that other guy for quite a while. Sir Whiskey Ray, thanks for that text. Appreciate you. Let's see. We got this text here from Gustavo in the 209. He said, hey, Q, for offense, Trey Tucker is the kind of player who could quietly become a breakout because of the opportunity and the skill set in this system. He's not going to be locked into a limited gadget role anymore. Trey Tucker will punish. For defense, Jamal McCoy is someone who can surprise a lot of people. The Raiders secondary is not locked 100%. There's room for McCoy to showcase his coverage flexibility in this defense under Robbie Leonard. Thanks for the text. I appreciate it. I really like what you said about Trey Tucker not being a gadget player anymore. That has been what's driven me crazy about the way that Trey Tucker has been used for the majority of his career. More like gadgets, more like even a one-trick pony at times where he's just stretching the field. They're not really using him as a traditional just wide receiver that can make plays. Like, the dude's got speed. You get him the ball, he can make things happen, right? We saw him really break out, have a good connection with Geno Smith early in the season. I mean, he was the number one wide receiver for a while. And I never understood how that connection developed so quickly, but it did. And then all of a sudden it tailed off when the rest of the offense really tailed off the rest of the season. I mean, at some point it was just bad, right? The offense was so bad that nobody was having success. But, Trey Tucker, the one thing I can say about him that every coach, no matter who it is, has said, he plays like he practices. And that's a big deal, right? Monday through Friday during practice or whenever they're out there on the practice field, he's going 100% like it's a game. And those are the ones that you see take that next step. The guys that every rep is the same. You wouldn't know if it's practice or a game, because every rep is the same. He's not just half-assing it during practice just to get to the game on Sunday. No, that he practices the way that he plays, and he plays the way that he practices, and it's always full speed. I know Chip Kelly was ranting and raving about that last year, about the fact that, they just love him, using his speed all the time and pressing these corners, and that's only going to make the corners better as well if you got a player like that. So if the Raiders treat him like a true wide receiver and not just a guy that is like one specialty thing. He can only stretch the field, or he can catch bubble screens or do end arounds or stuff like that, and just treat him like a guy who can run the entire route tree. If, in fact, he can run the entire route tree, that's only going to benefit them. And Jamad McCoy obviously is going to be a guy that, we'll see sooner rather than later what he brings to the table. One more quick text. This one's from Diego in Arizona. He said, Q, my offensive breakout player is Big Mike. He doesn't need to have a 1,000-yard season, but enough to prove to get a second contract with the Raiders and Kubiak's 12 personnel. For defense, I'm going with Quay Walker. I know it's his first season with the Raiders, but he said he wanted to do more than he did with the Packers, and I'm betting on that. That's a really good text, Diego. I'm betting on Quay Walker as well. Just the small sample size of what I've seen, he could be a difference maker. Another difference maker on that Raiders defense. We know that Max is, who can be another guy. And I know he's not across from him on the defensive line, but at that linebacker position, if you can have a guy that can hurt the opposing offenses like I believe Quay Walker's going to do, I think he's going to do some special things on this defense. Maybe I'm, just drinking the Kool-Aid. We'll see sooner rather than later. But just from what we've seen, again, small sample size, looks like he has an opportunity to really be an important player on this Raiders defense. And that linebacking room obviously has been, just turned over completely from what we saw last year. So, like I said, doesn't necessarily have to be, defensive player of the year worthy type stuff, but he just needs to go out there and be a difference maker and help get the ball back to the offense. And Big Mike, we talked a lot about Big Mike. This would be a great time to see them actually use that 12 personnel more than what we've been seeing it. Michael Mayer last year had 35 catches for 328 yards and 1 touchdown. 13 games played. I'd like to see him healthy for all 17 games, and I'd like to see his reception total up there around 57, 60, something that Trey Tucker and Brock Bowers had last year. But, again, there's only one ball, so, you also got to see, who's all involved in the offense. But I really would like to see Michael Mayer show who he can be like he was at tight end at Notre Dame. We do want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense, one on defense? We get your thoughts. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Yeah, we'll see. I really like it so far. He's putting some really good stuff, and obviously he's a really, really bright guy. So I'm excited to see what we do this year because watch tape from last year, them in Seattle, and they did a great job. So I'm excited.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
We got Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, coming up at the top of the hour. Talk all things Jets. Jets. You heard Brock Bowers on the way in talk about playing in Clint Kubiak's offense this year, what they did in Seattle, and the expectations for what he'll do with the Raiders this year. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We threw the question out there to you. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense and one on defense? Got a lot of good texts that we'll get to, but let's go ahead and go out to San Carlos real quick, talk to our guy Scott. Scott, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I just got two. I know you're kind of up against the hour here, but the two players I'd point out, and then I got to throw rookie at you, but the two players I'd throw out there, from last year would be Jack Besh on offense. I go back to what he did in college, and I think we've talked about this before. I mean, there's no denying he's got great hands. I think he was a little bit lost. It looked like a few times in the offense last year, but I think he's going to make the field because of his ability to downfield block. And in this offense, I know that's something Kubiak's going to want for Genty. But I also think they can work him in those, underneath and kind of medium routes. And like I said, in college, the kid caught anything within 2 yards of him. So he'd be my guy on offense. And then on defense, I'm actually going to go with Malcolm Kuntz. I think before he got hurt, especially those last few games that season, he looked like he was really putting it all together. And, sometimes when a guy gets hurt, they're in their own head and they're a little cautious. And I don't know if that's true for him, of course, but it just wouldn't surprise me to see now a full year removed if we kind of see him sort of back to his old self. So that I know that Max loves him and has a lot of faith in him. So, obviously that goes a long way. So he'd be my guy on defense. And then, I'm not going to mention it every time I call, but with rookies coming into camp this week, I had to bring out my guy, Malik Benson again. Because I keep telling you, I think that he's going to surprise some people. I really do. I think he's going to be a great return specialist, but I also think when he gets on the field, especially him and Tucker together, because they can both fly. So that'd be my bonus player.
I like it. Hey, Scott, really good call. Appreciate you. Yeah, Benson is one to watch out for. And the reason I say that is I think Dante Thornton Jr. is going to have his work cut out for him. He's got to prove that, one, he can stay on the field, and two, he can make those catches. I mean, you remember last year he was featured early on, and then all of a sudden they went away from him. And then he had that game in I believe it was in Denver, where he didn't catch a ball, and then there was a penalty that he had that took away a huge play, and he just kind of got in his own head, and he was real emotional about it. He cares, he wants it so bad, which I can respect, but he's also got to go out there and prove it and show it. I think he's got his work cut out for him because everything you said with Benson, he can be a kick return specialist. He could be a punt return specialist, and he was a guy that was targeted quite a bit in OTAs and mandatory minicamps. So obviously they saw something that they like out of the 6th-round pick out of Oregon. So, not throwing Dante Thornton Jr. to the side and saying he ain't going to make it or anything. There's definitely a role for him, but his role could be limited if Benson is able to make some noise in training camp and build off the success that he had in OTAs and mandatory minicamps. So I don't think you're wrong by bringing up his name at all. Really good stuff. Keep those texts coming at 702-365-9200. Hour number 3, it's up next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Obviously, would have hoped that the entirety of that draft would be growing old together, winning championships together, but not meant to be. And if you're going to be holding on to players, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are not too shabby.
I'm sure Breece Hall is the most happy.
Well, for sure. It just goes to show you if you're signing transition or franchise tags, that doesn't mean that the conversation is over unless you're the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the Raiders opponent preview. Right now on Unnecessary Roughness.
As we kick off hour number 3 of the show, we come into the sound of ESPN's Rich Eisen talking about the Jets extending Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Not to mention the players that they drafted, particularly in the first round this past year. David Bailey, the edge out of Texas Tech, hell of a player, drafted him number 2. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon, hell of a player, drafted him at number 16. And then a guy that I had my eye on, Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana, they drafted him at number 30, all in the first round. And those could be some big, impactful players. But who's the quarterback throwing them the rock is a good question. Will they get him next year, and will Aaron Glenn be around to coach that guy up? Join us now to talk all things Jets. Jets is our guy, Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, and the Jets the Jets host the Raiders November 1st. That's week 8. And Dan, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you. So let's start off with Aaron Glenn. I'm not in the business of calling for guys' jobs because I know how hard it is to get a job, so I like to see them keep it. But how warm would you say Aaron Glenn's seat is right now in New York?
Well, I would say it's lukewarm, not piping hot, because I do think they're much improved as far as their roster is much, just like the Raiders, their roster is so much better than last year. As far as when you look at the starters and the depth, instead of going out and spending all the money on 1 or 2 players, they spread it around. And if you look at what they did in free agency, they have a lot more depth to withstand injuries. And also you look at the draft, you mentioned that leading into the segment, and they got 4 potential starters in the first 2 rounds. So there's a lot more talent there, and I think the addition of Frank Reich as the offensive coordinator is one of their best moves of the offseason, whether it's adding a coach, a scout, or a player. I think he's going to transform the Jets offense. He's obviously a very good, experienced play caller. And not only will he help turn their offense around, I think he'll be a great bench coach for Aaron Glenn with all his head coaching experience in Indianapolis, Carolina, and let's not forget Stanford last year.
There's no doubt. And so Aaron Glenn takes over as the defensive play caller. Obviously, he's a defensive-minded guy. He was the Lions' defensive coordinator. How much do you think that that'll help this Jets defense? And oh, by the way, the whole draft was fantastic. I just mentioned the first 3 picks, but, man, the whole draft, I thought the Jets did a hell of a job.
Yeah, I think D'Angelo Pons, the nickel back, I call him a nickel back. He did play outside corner a lot at Indiana, but I think he'll move into the slot. But we all know how much teams play nickel defense. So he could be on the field 70 to 80% of the time. If he were taller than 5'8" and change, I think he's a first-round corner in terms of his cover skills. And I was talking about all the players they added on in free agency in the draft, but you look at the defensive tackles now. They could not stop the run last year, so they go out and trade for the massive nose tackle from the Tennessee Titans, Tavondre Sweat, 6'4", 366 pounds, and they signed one of the best run defenders available in free agency. David Onyemata comes over from the Atlanta Falcons. So they plugged up the middle of that defense. And then behind them, they added a tackling machine at middle linebacker, Demario Davis, who not only will help their run defense, he's going to be the leader, the player leader of this team. Demario Davis is a true alpha dog and a guy that, to me, one day is going to be a head coach, whether it's in the NFL or college, or he might even be the governor of Mississippi, where he's from. That's the kind of leader this guy is, and they were lacking leadership last year. So when you look at all these additions, they need to do a lot better job at intercepting the football. I mean, they had none last year. They go out and get the ball hawk, Meineke Fitzpatrick, at safety to lead the secondary. So they've added leaders on all three levels of the defense, with Onyemata on the D-line, Davis on at the linebacker position, and Meineke in the secondary. And that was a focus to add leaders on all three levels.
Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920 and Necessary Roughness. So with that being said, what do you think, I know it's early on, camp hasn't even started, what would you think is going to be the strength of this Jets team this season?
Well, I think that I think the running game will be very good. You can comment more on Dylan Parham. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on him. That's the one question mark on the offensive line. The rest of the line comes back intact. They did not re-sign two players that manned the left guard position for them last year. Elijah Vera-Tucker, who is an excellent player, and if he can stay healthy for New England, he's going to be one of the steals of free agency, but he had so many unfortunate injuries. And John Simpson, the other guy that played left guard last year, another guy you know about from the Raiders, he signed with the Baltimore Ravens. So they go to Parham. If that works out, the line should be very good, and they're going to be a run-based offense with Breece Hall, because if you look at Geno Smith's history, another guy you know a lot about, he's best. He is so much better when you look at his analytics and his metrics when he has play action. Obviously, Chip Kelly last year, that didn't work out for the Raiders. Chip Kelly comes from that college spread world with the shotguns. That's not what you want to do with Geno. You want to run the rock, and you want to set up easier play-action passes, creating that separation between the receiver and the defensive back, because you sell the play-action well. So there's going to be a heavy dose of Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis at running back, and they're going to try to run the ball and sell the play action, and they have a lot of weapons in the passing game. You're talking about the new tight end that they brought in, Kenyon Sadiq. How many tight ends run under 4.4? And obviously, you look at the fact that they have Mason Taylor, the starter tight end last year. He's going to play a lot too. Very good tight end from last year's draft. Omar Cooper, Garrett Wilson, a lot of weapons in that passing game. So I think run the ball, do the play-action passing, and like I said in the prior part of our interview, I think the defense is going to be a lot better.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. There's some definite dudes on that defensive side of the ball. When it comes to Geno Smith, you got to protect him. Obviously, Dylan Parham knows a lot about him, and Parham just has to stay healthy. Parham was banged up quite a bit during training camp. He didn't really miss time with those injuries, but you could see that he wasn't right. So if he can stay healthy, he could play any of those interior positions. So I think he's a pretty good player when healthy. That's my little asterisk that I'll put on Dylan Parham. Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. So with the strength being the run game, what do you think the weakness of the Jets could be?
Well, I think the weakness, obviously, you have to see what Geno's going to do. I don't want to call it a weakness right now, but obviously last year in the desert was not a good one for Geno. But one of the reasons the old regime, well, some of the regime is still there with the Raiders, the general manager, but one of the reasons they went out and got him and Pete Carroll wanted him was he had 3 pretty solid years in a row with the Seattle Seahawks. And I don't have the records in front of me, but they were all around 500. I think one was 10-7, one was 9-8. Let me tell you something, Q. Jets haven't had a winning record in a decade. They would sign up for 9-8 or 10-7. So if they get the Seattle Geno, they'll be happy with that. But Geno Smith right now is a question mark. And also, I would say the pass rush. Now, they picked David Bailey in the first round with the second pick overall, but he hasn't done it on the NFL level yet. So we'll see what he can do. The pass rush was not great last year. And here's a huge question mark to me. The pass coverage at linebacker. They were terrible there last year. And Demario Davis, who's going to be 37 during the season, you can't expect him to be Levante David when Devontae was in his prime as a coverage linebacker. I was trying to think of a great coverage linebacker. You can't expect that from a 37-year-old linebacker. And the guy that started last year who's returning, Jamien Sherwood, was not good in coverage last year. So to me, that would be one of the biggest question marks on the Jets. Linebacker pass coverage. With DeMario being 37 and Jamien Sherwood being very inconsistent in pass coverage last year at linebacker, and they're expected to be the two main linebackers playing a lot.
Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine with us here at Raider Nation Radio 920. I'll tell you, going back to Geno in Seattle, Geno, he's good as long as he doesn't believe that he has to do everything on his own. You know what I mean? Like, if he trusts his arm too much, that's when he gets into trouble. That's how he ended up throwing so many interceptions with the Raiders. Now, it wasn't all on Geno. I'm not going to tell that he was the worst-case scenario. Everything played a role in the failures of the Raiders last year. But when Geno has too much confidence in his arm and feels like he's got to do everything himself, that's when you get in trouble and you start seeing a lot of red zone interceptions or just interceptions in general. So I guess just kind of –
Exactly. You got to realize you don't have an elite quarterback. You have a game manager who needs everything to work around him. Yep. And obviously you would know this better than me, but the Colton Miller injury was bad for the whole team. Yep. There was a domino effect of that. And Geno, without a blindside protector, I know they went with a rookie and they went with a journeyman, I think Stone Forsythe. He's got two bookend first-round tackles now. If those guys stay healthy, and Armand Membu and Olu Fashanu, I think Geno's going to feel a little more comfortable in the pocket than he did with the backup left tackle and the other issues the Raiders had on the offensive line last year.
Agreed, 100%. And Membu was a guy we talked about quite a bit leading into the draft because we knew he was going to be a really good player. The Jets got two good bookends, as you mentioned. So we talked about the strength. We talked about the weakness. What could be the X factor for Aaron Glenn and the Jets organization in 2026?
Well, I think the X factor, Frank Reich is one, but we talked about him already. I'm going to throw in the special teams because this special teams coach does not get enough love. Chris Banjo, I thought they were rolling the dice hiring him. He was in the league for 10 years as an ace special teams cover guy. He was in Denver for 2 years as an assistant special teams coach, and he's still in his middle 30s. I'm like, why they're hiring this guy? He's got no experience. He was outstanding. And I think he's going to be a head coach in this league one day. So their special teams, their return game with Isaiah Williams. Q, how often is a returner the MVP of a team? Isaiah Williams, the kick and punt returner, team MVP. Now, that's an indictment on the roster a little bit, but he was outstanding. Turn game's good. The punt game is good. The only caveat I'll throw in about the kicking game is they let a heck of a kicker leave the building in Folk. So they're going to have – but you know what? They might have Jason Sanders, who you'll remember from Miami, who was pretty good. He's there. So they might be okay there. But I think the X factor is special teams. And we all know it's 33% of the game, and Chris Banjo does a heck of a job leading that unit.
You know, it's so funny, Dan. I'm glad you brought up special teams. We never really give it any praise. All we do is say, the special teams was terrible, right? We never really consider it, like you said, 33% of the game until there's a special teams breakdown or it's not going the way it is. Then it's like, what's wrong with special teams? That special teams unit stinks. Like, that's how we always talk about it. But you're right. It's such an important part of team success.
Yeah, when you have Isaiah Williams, who they got off the Bengals practice squad into the season. Not only was he was a team MVP who they claimed or they signed off a practice squad early in the season. I don't know if that's ever happened in NFL history. Right. Once again, there's two sides to that coin there. That's amazing. Isaiah Williams, a great guy, undrafted free agent at Illinois, where he was mainly a quarterback. He's going to be a star returner in this league for a long time. But the other side of the coin is it shows you the lack of talent on that roster last year, not taking anything away from Isaiah Williams. But when your MVP was an in-season addition returner, you got roster problems. And hat tip to Darren Muji, the GM. He did a really good job taking their cap space, spreading it around because their depth was so bad last year. We all know how much these lines rotate. The D-line rotates, except in the case of Max Crosby, who never comes off the field. But generally – these D-lines rotate like crazy. When they went to their backup line, oh, my God, the drop-off and the other team just marched right down the field. I don't think that's going to happen this year. There won't be as big a drop-off. They have a lot of good depth on the D-line now.
Isaiah Williams had just about 1,500 yards in return yards last season and 2 return touchdowns. Dan, I hate to admit it, the Raiders haven't had a kickoff return touchdown since 2010. 2010. That is incredible. There's teams that have 2 or 3 a year, and the Raiders haven't had one in 16-plus seasons. But there you go. That's it. So they could use an Isaiah Williams as well, who obviously is
What
very
about
skilled.
their leading receiver from last year is a pretty good returner, right?
Well, we haven't seen him really. I mean, Trey Tucker, I thought that he could do that, but he didn't really do that. It was really other guys, and they didn't do anything. And this year, I think Malik Benson, who they drafted out of Oregon, I think he's going to have a chance, but they haven't had a threat in that return in so long. It's something that I pull my hair out every year leading into the season. Are they going to have a return kick? They had Jacoby Ford in 2010 return a touchdown on a kickoff, and then they had Dwayne Harris. You remember Dwayne Harris back in like 2018 return a punt. Those are the last 2 that they took to the house. Last 2.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sure that'll be turned around. But I'll tell you what, Isaiah Williams is another reason it's a great story. He goes in early, he fumbles a punt, and everybody covering the team said, this guy's gone, a guy off the street or a guy off the practice squad, because then it fumbles. To their credit, they stuck with him. And look what happened. So that's a nice story as far as not giving up on a long shot and saying, you know what, we still believe in him.
So let me ask you this, and we'll close out with this fantastic stuff. Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine, with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. How do you view Cade Klubnik? Is he a quarterback that could be the future, or is he just a guy and they're going to try to get their future quarterback maybe in next year's draft?
You know, that's a tough one as far as looking to next year, because if you're Aaron Glenn, you started this interview talking about a potential hot seat. So can you be in the sweepstakes for Arch Manning, whoever emerges as the top quarterback? We know that can change, Q, and you know it better than anyone because you cover a team who picked a quarterback first overall who nobody a year ago was saying. And by the way, Ty Simpson, who was saying before the 2025 draft, oh, Ty Simpson and Mendoza are going to be the top 2 quarterbacks. Those were not the names we were hearing. So I'm going to hesitate to say the Arch Manning sweepstakes, but just for the sake of this conversation, can Aaron Glenn really afford to do that? Right. I don't think so. So they're going to obviously try to win this year. Klubnik, I don't see him as the future starter. I mean, he had 4 years at Clemson. I know sometimes he wasn't dealt the best hand, and maybe Dabo Swinney didn't embrace the transfer portal NIL thing early on, which hurt that program. But still, he was a 5-star recruit everybody wanted. He had 4 years at Clemson, and he was underwhelming. I think the ceiling there is to be the number 2. And he could do that for a long time. Not a bad job to have, but I don't see him as the future starter right now because he's not an elite processor. He's another one of these college quarterbacks that kind of gets stuck on their first read and doesn't go through the progressions well. Maybe that'll change, but that's what we saw at Clemson.
Well, I know the Raiders will see the Jets coming up November 1st. That'll be there in New Jersey, in New York, whatever you want to call it, at the New York Jets, Week 8, November 1st, Raiders at the Jets. Dan, fantastic stuff, my man. What are you working on that we should be on the lookout for, maybe learn a little bit more about the Jets?
Yeah, I do a daily blog on my website, jetsconfidential.com. We have a new issue out now of the magazine, the print magazine. I know we have so many New Yorkers out there in Vegas, so a good way to follow the team. You can subscribe by going to jetsconfidential.com. But you mentioned that Jets-Raiders game, and you bummed me out because when that game is not out, but nothing against where I live in New Jersey, but who doesn't want, whether it's a beat writer or a fan, when the Raiders are on the schedule for the game to be, everyone wants it to be in Vegas. We all know that.
Yep. Exactly. Everybody wants to come to Vegas. There's no doubt. That's all right. Next time the Jets come, you can make the trip out this way. We'll hang out and catch up before the game and after the game. You know how we roll.
Always great to see you, Q, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely appreciate you. Great stuff as always. There he goes, Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential Magazine. And, yeah, everyone sees the Raiders on the schedule. They all want to come to Vegas. That goes for fans as well. That's why the Raiders have to do a better job of winning so they can keep the opposing fans out of the stadium as opposed to everyone saying, hey, weekend trip to Vegas. Let's do it. We'll end our weekend with a football game. No. They got to get out of that. They've got to get out of that business. They've got to start winning consistently at home. Winning cures all. Yes, it's Las Vegas. Yes, people are always going to want to come here. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to even try to candy coat that and say that's not the case. But winning will help. It'll keep Raider Nation wanting to be at the game, and it'll keep other fans from wanting to spend their hard-earned money to see their team lose. So many thanks to Dan. We do appreciate him. Again, the Week 8 opponent is the New York Jets. We'll continue to go through our strength, weakness, and X factor for teams that are outside of the Raiders division, like the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Browns, the Titans, and the Cardinals. We still have those teams that are left before training camp gets rolling, as the rookies will report coming up on the 23rd and the veterans on the 28th. And then, boom, there you go, full throttle. Everyone will be at the Intermountain Health Performance Center checking out training camp and, reporting on the team, talking to coaches and players following practice. So we definitely look forward to that. 702-365-9200. We do want to hear from you as well. What player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense and one on defense? We got this great text from Just Win Will. He says, fantastic topic, Q. Here I go. JPJ, his bigger role will be him being more available more consistently. IPM, talking about Isaiah Polamalu. We brought in too many guys at those positions for IPM not to step up and take a bigger role. Wouldn't be a Raiders fan without adding a third one. And I wouldn't be me without saying this. Linebacker room. Can this entire room come to the front of the congregation and show up and show out every week? Show and prove. All I'm saying. LOL. Thanks, Q and Ari. Aloha, Raiders. That's from Just Win Will. And JPJ, I mean, that's the conversation. That's the gift that keeps on giving, right? That conversation, we have that about him. That dude could be as dominant as he wants to be. I do think he has his work cut out for him. There's only a couple positions that are open along that offensive line. Remember, I talked about how many positions are already set in red ink and how many aren't. It really feels like, and this is just the feeling I got from OTAs and mandatory minicamp, the only positions that really could be open are maybe the right side of the offensive line. I feel like that there's a pretty good look at the left guard. I keep saying Caleb Rogers, but I also would not be shocked at all if the free agent that the Raiders brought in from the 49ers ends up holding down that left guard spot, at least early on. I would not be surprised, just because, again, he's got that familiarity with the offense that they're going to be running, and what that could bring to the table. I know that everyone that we talk to from the 49ers that covers the 49ers, like, Spencer Burford's not all that. He's not all that great, but it's like what Paul Gutierrez always says when he joins the show. It's not necessarily your best 5 offensive linemen. It's the best 5 that fit together. So it might literally be the right guard and right tackle are the only spots. If what we saw in training or in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, if that has anything to do with the direction that the field that the Raiders are going with at this stage of the game. I mean, things could be changed, right? Plans always can be changed, but I think JPJ has got his work cut out for him. Just from what you said, just when Will, that staying on the field, being available is huge for JPJ. And unfortunately for him, something that he has not done so far in his career. It just hasn't been on the field enough to get it done and command the respect that a lot of people think that the Raiders should be giving him. And I know last year was really just kind of a strange year for him, but, I mean, just the availability just hasn't been there consistently, and that's something that you have to have if you want, especially on that offensive line, if you want to be successful. Let's go out to the phone lines real quick. Let's talk to our guy, Bernard. Bernard, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q. Hey, I was kind of on the same line with the call, or I think you read a text. It's JPJ for me, man. JPJ, and I'm going to say DJ Glaze also. Okay. It seemed like he regressed, a little bit. So just offensive line, the team would be so much better. And then you kind of brought this up too earlier. It's the DBs, man. I'm tired of hearing Eric Allen talk and hearing Charles Woodson and playing the highlights. Them boys got their hands on the ball. Yep. So I hope Jamar McCoy is healthy enough. Obviously we'll find out pretty soon because the rookies report on Thursday. But he gets the ball and some of the, a lot of the other DBs in college anyway. And like you said, if you do it in college, you're going to most likely do it in NFL. And like you said, if you do it in high school, you do it in college, so on and so on. So hopefully these guys can, get their hands on the ball. And one more quick thing. Q, it was kind of funny talking about the grass fields. NFL's want to play on grass and not on turf. I get all that. Q, the Raiders used to play on the baseball infield. That was crazy.
That's true.
Think, when they would get tackled on that field, I would be like, I don't even know how they was able to do that without the NFLPA saying, I mean, that looks dangerous. I mean, it's hard enough just for baseball, but guys getting tackled on that, and you can clearly see sometimes the Raiders' game plan or the other team's game plan, like they didn't like to throw the ball. I know Randy Moss, he hated running on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why he wanted to get the heck out of Oakland. And another Q, you got a signature closing on all your interviews. I'm starting to hear more people do that. Every time, I think I told you this before also, when you get finished, you always ask whoever you talk to, hey, what you got going on, or what we can, you word it different every time, but what can we be on the lookout for? I think that's awesome, man. I was listening to an interview the other day, and somebody else said it, and I was like, they biting off my man Q, because nobody ever says that. So keep up the good work, man. You keep innovating yourself, and you keep us connected, man. And football season's gonna be here, so we just can't wait to get all the info from you, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate the call, Bernard. And, yeah, I mean, I feel like if these guys – because full disclosure, these guys come on the show for free. They don't get paid to come on the show. They come on because of relationships. They come on because they enjoy the conversation. And if they're going to come on and they're going to come on for free, who am I not to allow them to say what they have coming up? Hey, what are you working on? Because they might say something like Tyler Dragon might say, hey, I'm going to do a story on all 32 teams, the biggest storyline in training camp. And, Bernard, you might say, oh, man, I want to see – I know what the storyline about the Raiders, but I want to see what the rest are. That might catch your attention to go want to check it out. I feel like that's the least I should do, right? And I think that everyone should actually do that. I actually encourage more people that are doing interviews to take that little nugget and use it to their advantage, because that's just common courtesy, and people understand that, like John McClain, for example. I'll just use him. I've been rocking with him for a very long amount of time. And even when he was at the Houston Chronicle, he said, I love doing radio shows, and I really love the ones that allow me to also talk about what I'm working on, and stuff that I'm doing in the future, because, one, I'm proud of it, plus my employer understands that I'm doing a form of an advertisement for them as well. Hey, this is what we got. I got my mock draft coming up. I got this coming up. I just think that that's a common courtesy, and more people should do it. And I take a lot of interviews. Trust and believe, I do a lot of interviews, and I can tell you that it's very rare that anyone ever asks me what's coming up on on RaiderNation Radio, on game night, on anything. I don't get too many people to ask me, which is fine. That's their prerogative, but it is a common courtesy when you're doing these interviews for free. And your point on JPJ, that's obviously a really good one. I do like the point you also brought up about the grass field and the Oakland Coliseum playing on the dirt. That's why Darren McFadden always had so many turf toes and so many issues with his feet was running on that dirt field. And that wasn't for everybody, man. That was tough. You're not wrong. I think it was okay. And I don't know. I think it was okay because for the longest time, you remember back in the day, so many different stadiums had, baseball and football being played in it. And so you would see these guys playing on dirt fields, and, the center of the field would be around second base like it was at the Coliseum. But the Raiders were just the last ones to get rid of that and obviously move on once they got to Las Vegas. But, yeah, man, that nobody wants to play on that dirt field, and especially get tackled out there. You're right about that, man. Really good call. Definitely appreciate you. 702-365-9200. We'll continue with your calls, and we got to flush another performance. Speaking of the Oakland Coliseum and that dirt infield, it's funny that you bring that up. That's next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
And the pitch outside. Ford walked his last time, came around to score on the Young RBI double.
Oh.
Now Harry Ford out to left center. How far is this one going to go? Volte back. It's out of here. Harry Ford, welcome to the Nationals. First big league homer in his first big league game.
It's time to flush it. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing.
And I think the Nationals might have just scored again and again and again. Got to shout out to Moonlight Plumbing, moonlightplumbing.vegas. They bring you this flushing, and every single week we're making sure that we flush on a performance. And guess what? There's always a team, a player, someone that's worthy of a flushing. And unfortunately, sometimes there are repeat offenders. And, well, it felt like deja vu because this time last week I was taking the Athletics to task. Because they had lost their series against the White Sox 24-2. Well, on Friday night, On Friday night against the Washington Nationals, they lost that game 23-4. That loss on Friday night was the A's 10th in a row. And the 23 runs scored by the Nationals tied for the second most in their franchise history. So as bad as it was last Monday when I talked about losing the series, not one game, not one game, but the series 24-2, they follow up with a performance on Friday night where they end up giving up 23 runs, which I just don't understand how that's even possible, how you could make that happen. Now, the star of the night was Andres Chaparro. He went 4 for 5, had 2 home runs and 8 RBI as the Washington Nationals handed the Athletics their 10th straight defeat in a 23-4 romp on Friday night. 5 A's relievers allowed 19 runs on 17 hits over 5 1/3 innings. Now, I will give the Athletics credit. They did bounce back on Saturday. They snapped their 10-game losing streak with a 15-1 victory over Washington themselves, so they pulled out the whooping stick, right? They really obviously made it happen, but then they followed that up with another loss. So here they go again. They're back in the loss column. On Sunday, they lose 5-2. So if you're keeping track of the overall runs scored by the Nationals, it would be 29 and then 21 by the A's. So again, I've said it many times. You know, we air their games on our sister station. We look forward to them coming to Las Vegas. They can hit. They can score runs. Their pitching is what the problem is. So, again, that's very obvious when you give up 23 runs in one game. That was on Friday night to kick off the weekend for the A's. And, you know, a team that at one point was actually in first place in the AL West is now, well, in fourth place. And they're not looking like they're in very good position. They're going to keep on trying to build up their roster. They have a lot of young talent. I'll give them that. Their farm system, as we play the Aviator games, we give them a lot of credit. A lot of guys in AAA, they end up moving up to the active roster. Really good guys, really good players. Pitching is what they need. So, with that being said, tonight the A's will start a series with the Diamondbacks at 6 p.m., and you can hear all that action on our sister station, ESPN Las Vegas. It's almost guaranteed that they're going to have a lot of runs scored, either by the Athletics or by the Diamondbacks. So that Flushing was brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Again, moonlightplumbing.vegas. No problem is too big or too small for Moonlight. Their services range from residential leaky faucet repair, water heater replacement, to commercial plumbing system installs and full remodels. You want to give them a call, 702-355-3938. They've got exceptional service across the Las Vegas Valley. Military and first responder discounts are available, and it's veteran-owned and operated, and we obviously thank them for their services. But most importantly, of all things that can be flushed down the drain, time and money should not be two of them. So again, make sure you check out moonlightplumbing.vegas. That's moonlightplumbing.vegas.
Flush It is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. We mean business.
We mean business around here as well. We'll continue with the business here on RaiderNation Radio 920 after that proper flushing by Moonlight Plumbing. Thank them very much for that. 702-365-9200. Got a lot of texts and calls that we need to get to and talking about the subject at hand. Which player do you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer? One on offense and one on defense. Our guy Lyle said, assuming he makes the roster, I'd like to see Dylan Lobby's number called more. Misdirection plays, special teams, and anyone and everyone not named Crosby on defense. Dylan Lobby is a special case. He was a guy that when he was a rookie, I thought he was going to have a pretty big role on offense. He did not. I don't expect him to have a bigger role. I actually heard the morning tailgate this morning, and Vinny and Clay and Vince were talking about Lobby and how they think that he can get more of a role on offense. I'm not falling for that banana in the tailpipe this year. I look at the running back room between Ashton Genty, Mike Washington, Roman Hemby. I think those are all more than capable guys to run the rock. And that's not a slight on Dylan Lobby. I just think that special teams is how he butters his bread, which, oh, by the way, that's okay. Special teams, having really good special team players is a necessity. Again, as we were talking to Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential magazine earlier, special teams doesn't get talked about until it does, and that's normally when things go bad. So I would like to see Dylan Lobby continue to hone in on his craft, which has been special teams. I'd like to have more of a threat in the return game than Dylan Lobby, but as far as going down there on special teams, being a gunner, making tackles, doing things like that, I think he definitely has a role on the team. But it's going to be a special team ace, kind of like what Kirk Morrison said when he joined us in the first hour. and he said, master a certain thing and then more can be put on your plate. That's what Dylan Lobby needs to do. Master special teams. Be that guy where they can't afford to take you off the field in special teams instances. And then you can build off of that. But you got to be the master of one first. And that's what I think, that's how he makes this roster. I don't think he doesn't make the roster. I just think his special teams is where he butters his bread. Brad in Concord said, I had my thunder stolen a while ago, but that just shows that a lot of us are on the same page. For me, it's JPJ too. We need that mauler. When the refs were warning him season before last that he was playing too rough, words of the commentators, I was sold. Another potential whiz. Just have to keep those concussions in check if that's even possible now. The next is Pay. When he came over, Max was gone, and Pay was to be that guy to hopefully make up for some of that. When he arrives, Max is back. So I'd love to see him be the ultimate bookend after all that. That could be a major duo if he can make it happen, and seems like he could. Yeah, and that was one thing, and I got to give John Spytek and the Raiders a lot of credit for still – honoring the free agent deals that they agreed on. Remember, I mean, they could have said, "Oh, well, Max is back. Never mind, Kwity Paye, you're gone." Right? We're gonna change our mind, just like Baltimore changed their mind on the trade for Max, but they didn't. They said we don't do that. We honor our deals. So obviously, there's a role that they see fit for Kwity Paye. I'd love to see him be a guy that's a heavy, at least heavy part of that rotation as a guy across from Max. If you can get a healthy dose of Kuntz, Kwity Paye, and even Crawford, right, as other guys across from Max, all of a sudden you're in a really good position, right? And now they have to pick their poison. They already are going to have 98 circled anytime he's on the field anywhere. 98 can line up as a safety, and they'd have him circled. Like, what's going on? Why is he lined up as a safety? They got something up their sleeve. Like, as long as he's on the field, they're paying attention to him. But they also need to have some focus on others, and so others need to step up. So I agree. If Kwity Paye could be that big factor, and from everything that we've heard so far, a lot of good reviews on Kwity Paye so far, that guy that doesn't leave the facility, that guy that's hungry to really show his worth. Was he some massive alpha in Indianapolis? No. But, his role, obviously they saw a fit for him on this Raiders defense. Now we just have to see how they go about and use that. So I think that's a really good text, Brad. Thanks so much for that. Do appreciate it. Let's see. We got this from Dave. Hey, Ari, what's the word of the day? The word of the day is anthem. The word of the day, if you summer of fun, you're trying to win the trip or win the cash, the word of the day is anthem. $3,000 is the cash, and the trip is the Southern California theme park trip. So you have till 5 o'clock to get that text in. Text the word anthem, ANTHEM. Sir Whiskey Ray, hey, Q, for Friday's show, will you be at Treasure Island? If so, I'd like to swing by and say what's up. I'll be in town. Any details would be appreciated. Thanks as always, Sir Whiskey Ray. Great text. And yes, I will be at Treasure Island on Friday from 2 to 5 p.m. In the Golden Circle Sportsbook. It's one of my favorite locations to do shows from, especially on a Friday. It's right up my alley. Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas are normally there from 3 to 6, but he's not able to make that appearance this week, so I get to go in and slide in as a substitute. And I have no problem being the substitute. That's a really good place. It's convenient. It's easy to get into the parking garage. Slide right in. They have really good food. They have great specials. Obviously, the betting kiosks they have and all the gaming that you want. Everything is a one-stop shop right there. It's one of the first places I did a show from when I arrived here in 2021, and it's still one of my favorite places to do a show from. So, yeah, if you're in or around town coming up on Friday, and we'll encourage you throughout the course of the week so you don't forget, Treasure Island, the Golden Circle Sportsbook is where you can find this show, this fine program we call Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920 coming to you from, and we'll have some prizes, some T-shirts and whatnot, whatever Sylvia gives us. So let's start sweating Sylvia now to give us some good stuff. Don't put your hands up, Ari. Start sweating her. Right? Be like, hey, look.
I know. I was putting my hands up because you're like, hey, don't be so nice to her. And I'm
exactly. That's what I said. Don't be nice to her. Sweat her. Be like, hey, look here, man. We don't get out very often, right? They try to keep us in studios, keep us in check, right? They try to make sure that we don't get out and about and get a little loose. Because, every once in a while, I'm like that dog that's been in the car for a long ride.
Got the zoomies.
Yeah, man, I got as soon as the door opens, it's like I start running. Where's that dog going? Who cares? It just got out the car, wants to go. Like that's me, man. I'm go, all the time. There's no slowing down. So yeah, man. Once yeah, so don't let me out and about and not let me go there with some prizes, some gifts that I'll be bearing. That definitely will bring as much as possible. We'll raid the closet. Like we ain't gonna tell nobody else. All right, we ain't gonna tell nobody else, but we're gonna collect some other stuff. All week we're going to collect stuff and then bring it, right? We ain't going to tell nobody else. We ain't going to tell Sylvia. We ain't going to tell no one else that's in charge, right? It'll be the secret between me, you, and everyone listening.
Love it.
We'll be good.
And very
right?
exclusive club right
It's
here.
an exclusive club. Raider Nation, look, when we tell secrets, we keep it amongst ourselves.
That's right. Especially Q. I mean, there's
you
no
see
one
why
better
they don't tell me nothing?
No one better at keeping a secret.
You see why they don't tell me nothing, because I'll definitely let it be known. So, so we'll definitely be there on site and on location coming up on Friday. So thanks so much for that text. Definitely appreciate you. Keep that feedback coming, 702-365-9200. We'll hear from you, and we'll get some texts and calls as we close out the show. We'll do it next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Brazy in Vegas hit us on the text line, said, Q, Naylor is my guy on offense. His measurables are too close to JSN. I'm going with the rookie safeties from Arizona. I'm looking for them to carry over the continuity into the NFL. Oh, the safeties. So it's talking about Stukes and also talking about Dalton Johnson. And that secondary, man, is definitely going to be something to pay attention to. Absolutely revamped by way of the draft, by way of trade, and bringing back Eric Stokes as well. Brazy, really good text, man. Definitely appreciate that. 702-365-9200. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We've been asking about players that you want to see take on a bigger role and emerge as a breakout performer, one on offense and one on defense. Mark in Jersey said JPJ and Glaze need to step up, and they'll be better coaching this year. Kuntz was disappointed last year. His role must improve. That's Mark in Jersey. Let's stick in Jersey and talk to Uncle Mitch. Money Mitch, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, I'm a legend. I'll never live that down. How you doing?
Hey, you're the only one that's ever going to call yourself a legend, but I'm okay with that. Hey, you're legendary, Uncle Money Mitch. How about that?
Not all good, but I'll take it. It's more good than bad. What can I say? I started it. It's all good in life. Life is short. By the way, you're talking about infields. With the soccer, you think that NFL wants to bring out, you think they can have grass in all these stadiums? I agree. Artificial turfs, a rough sport like football, has no business being there. It should be natural grass. I know you had to infiltrate the Coliseum. That was kind of strange to see the infield in the play, but that just reminds you of Dave Casper, Todd Grissom, Kenny Stable, the good old days. But the two guys I want to see this year, I'm going to go with Tonka Hemingway, get more playing time. Defensive tackle, right? And I was going to say Thornton, but how about Big Mike? Okay. Imagine if he lives up to his potential with him and Brock. Bro, we'll have something. We might win some games this year. Maybe win more than USC. I had to throw that in, bro.
I know you did.
Yeah. And the Dodgers, baby. All right, I'll keep. Thank you for taking my call. I hope you had a good weekend. I know you talk to me soon. Maybe too soon, but you never know. You know.
Right on.
All right.
I appreciate it. There goes Money Mitch. Never knows how to wrap up the conversation, but it's okay. I appreciate that. Our guy Bill hit us on Twitter, matter of fact, way back on some of the old fields. They would just paint the field green because they couldn't grow grass, a.k.a. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, our infield, home field advantage. That's from our guy Bill. And, yeah, talking about those old school stadiums that, just like the Oakland Coliseum, were also the football field and the baseball field. And at some point, you were playing on the dirt. Let's go ahead and go back out to the phone lines and get one more quick call at 702-365-9200. Stay tuned. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my man?
Hey, so on offense and defense, as far as offense is concerned, man, I think it's pretty obvious. We got to have DJ Glaze step up in the run game and in the pass game. I feel like if Kirk's going to have a chance, if Genteen's going to have a chance to have a good year, if he does, and he's what Kubiak's hyping up. I know Kubiak seems to like DJ Glaze a lot. So if he does play well and he steps up, him and Colton Miller, could be a pretty good tandem at the tackle spot. So I can't argue with that in regards to, as far as what difference it would make. That would be highly significant on the offense. And then for defense, just to wrap it up, I know you got too much time, but I would like to see Jeremy Chin step up. And I know everyone's going with the pass rusher on the other side of Crosby because we all know that's what needs to happen, but to not go with the obvious as far as it not being a pass rusher on the other side of Crosby, I would like to see Jeremy Chin step up and make some more plays. We have some more safety depth we have linebacker depth. We can really use him as a chess piece to, like, really move around inside the box, play a little bit of linebacker on third downs, match up, and just, as far as matchup issues are concerned. I look for Jimmy Chinn's role to expand a little bit now that we're developing a little bit more depth and focusing on those other positions. So hopefully those two guys, can make a difference this year. Have a good one, Q. You've been great.
Hey, thanks for the call. Stay tuned. Appreciate you. Jeremy Chinn, hadn't heard that one all so long, but that is a really good one. I'll tell you, man, I was really high on Jeremy Chinn when he was coming out of college, Southern Illinois, because he was that chess piece. He was that guy that you knew was very versatile. And, the Carolina Panthers selected him, and I was like, man, they got a really good player. And I thought he did some good things there in Washington. He to me, played even better, kind of showing what he could really do. And he had some good production last year. But, yeah, Jeremy Chinn is a guy that I was pretty fired up about when the Raiders got him, just because I knew what he was able to do in college. And so far in his career, 555 tackles. He's had 7 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 24 pass deflections, 3 picks, a couple touchdowns. Like, he's done a little bit of everything. I would love to see Jeremy Chinn in his final year on his contract really have a big season for the Raiders, really kind of be that leadership that they've talked about, and not just from a leader point of view, but go out there and lead by example, play at a really high level and show, Dalton Johnson and the other young players in that secondary what it's all about. And I know that's something that Clint Kubiak, Robbie Leonard and company are relying on. I saw him and Isaiah Polamalu and Traden Stukes out on the field at the same time during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. So if he can get them lined up, if he can get them in the right position and then go out and make plays, he has good hands. He can cause fumbles. He's a good tackler. So I like Jeremy Chinn. That was a really, really good call. Stay tuned. Thanks so much for that. I do appreciate it. Big Dub Raider got in late on the text line, but we appreciate it. Said, afternoon, fellas. Looking at Charles Grant and Kwity Paye to play big roles this season. Go Raiders. Really great feedback. Text line, phone line, as always, Raider Nation. Every single day you outdo yourself here on this show, and we can't thank you enough for all your feedback and contributions to the show, just like we can't thank Kirk Morrison enough, Tyler Dragon from USA Today Sports, Dan Leberfeld, Jets Confidential as well. We'll have the General coming up on tomorrow's show, John McClain. Always look forward to Tuesday conversation with John. And, of course, we'll load it up and bring you some really good topics. We'll give you the word of the day. Again, today's word of the day is anthem. You have about 5 minutes to go ahead and text that word in real quick, 702-365-9200. You want an opportunity at the Summer of Fun. Take the trip or take the cash. The cash is $3,000. We definitely appreciate Terribles for making the Summer of Fun possible. And without you, Summer of Fun wouldn't matter, and the show wouldn't matter. It's all about you, Raider Nation. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 2 o'clock, here on Raider Nation Radio, 920. Have a great night.